Impatient, arrogant, throwing fits, ripping shit, tearing it, imperative. Then I'm killing this mic no matter where I live. These derelict rappers acting the fool, this embarrassing is flagrant. That's the nature of this entertainment, and we can't even change it. Guilty before arraignment, now the system tainted. But when we speak, they all laugh at us. And y'all wonder why I'm lacking trust. Trying to fight a giant with attorneys that can back them up. That's church versus science, both sides start acting up. I'm late on my assignment, hopping up a mile high, climbing, obviously never silent. New alignment, I'm defiant, cannot describe it. Used to describe it as a young graffiti artist. Before the beard, I always got carded. At every bar, even though my bar's been the hardest. The scars on my face, and I ain't always been the smartest. But I'll show you where my heart is. I said I'll show you where my heart is. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. Even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody will ever see. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. Even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody will ever see. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. I can show you where my...
The type of guy that would ride with the breeze. I'm higher than most people. I'm cold and icicle freeze. I'm like him to Mike Tyson. I'm a bison, a beast. I'm hot like Jamaica, like right by the beach. My pops is from a spot where they're fighting for peace. 8 years old out there watching people fight in the streets. All these sirens only make the violence increase. Yeah, we're still not loving police. It's that bright young American, nice, dumb, arrogant, tight on a mic, but he might need a therapist. Heart full of kerosene, head full of fairy tales. Said that you're my homie, you don't know me, but I know you very well. Roll back on some West Coast shit. This whole track is wetter than your dress code kiss. About to hit the track, running on some retro fit. I guess so lit, I guess so bitch, now let's go.
I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. Even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody...
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a Tuesday. You know what time that is then? It's going to be Sports Nonsense and Whiskey. Hanging with my boy Pinky, February 21st. Got plenty to talk about. How you doing, my guy?
Oh, man. Well, I'm better now. It was a day.
Pinky, you froze. You froze on us, my guy.
It looks good over here.
Oh, no. Did I freeze?
You look good. What's going on?
I don't know. We just got a still of your beautiful mug just chilling there, looking back at everybody.
No way. Is that really what's going down?
I mean, that's all I'm seeing. I don't know. Should I check the live feed? Should I check the real live feed and see what happens?
Yeah, I'm pulling it up on YouTube. I just see a blank screen, huh?
You got some background noise there too, my guy.
Well, it's because I just turned it on my phone. That's why. To see it. Okay. Let me jump out of here.
Are we gonna have to just look at my beautiful face for a little bit here, ladies and gentlemen? I'm sorry. I apologize. Beautiful technical difficulties with
give the people
all
what they want.
Things. Yeah. KB82. Pinky is a black screen.
Yeah, it looks like I'm still a black screen. Okay. Well, I'm going to reboot real quick, Caleb. You carry the show for a moment.
I got you, my guy. You take care of what you need to. While we wait on Pinky, plenty of sports things happened over the weekend. We got plenty to talk about today. Run through some NBA. We're going to discuss a little NHL. Kind of get that tipped off. We're not huge hockey guys. We love watching it. We don't know a ton about it. So what we do know, we'll kind of throw out there tonight, and then hopefully we can get our hockey insider, our boy Cody, a good friend of ours who's a big hockey fan, and he knows the stuff. So we'll try to get him on in the next week or two and run down some hockey. And then we're going to talk about GOATs. Now, depending on your age, it might have taken you a while to get used to the word GOAT, meaning greatest of all time. I know myself growing up, you heard GOAT, it usually meant someone who choked really bad and is a laughingstock of the situation. Didn't mean great or good at all. So thank you, X Games. Thank you to those non-mainstream sports, if you will, for creating the term GOAT. It really came about with Tony Hawk, to the best of my recollection. So, it's always appreciated when the non-mainstream can then lead to things that become mainstream and bring themselves into that fold as well. I'm a big X Games guy too. Love that stuff. So um, we will be talking some goats tonight and running through kind of the idea of what that might mean for people. Obviously, everybody's always got a different definition of what a goat is, what their categories are to classify someone within that upper echelon of talent. So we'll run through that as well. Yeah, so NBA, NHL, and GOAT tonight. Waiting for Pinky. Obviously, we'll have, nonsense is going to start getting a little bit more stronger in the NFL offseason. That seems to be when more of our nonsense comes out. We start riffing off of, who's got the best movies out right now and this and that. A couple years back, before we were gracious enough to be asked to join the MHRT network, we got a good buddy who is a self-proclaimed nerd. I love the guy. His name's Eric. Hilarious, really knowledgeable when it comes to all things comic books and video games and all of that stuff. So we had him on at one point a couple years ago. Just kind of did a show with him and talking things like that because, honestly, Pinky and I might talk sports all the time, but I'd say we're closet nerds as well because we both love, the sci-fi, the comics, and all of the things that go with that. Pinky's got more knowledge than I do for sure. So it's just something I've kind of always enjoyed, but never knew a whole lot about. But definitely something we'll discuss and look into as the offseason comes. We're just talking about how we had Eric on a couple years ago, and we'll probably bring him back in the offseason to have a fun night of nonsense talk that doesn't really relate to sports.
Yeah, man. We need to get Eric on. I mean, he's living the high life. Georgia fan, Chiefs fan.
Yeah, he's doing really good this year.
He's feeling pretty good right now.
Absolutely. So we'll bring Cody on either next week or the week after. Get him to really dive into hockey because you and I love it but don't know enough. So we'll talk basics tonight of what we do know and get Cody on here. And then as the offseason progresses, we'll get Eric on and we'll have some fun episodes where it's just the whiskey and nonsense and not a lot of sports, ladies and gentlemen. But that's why we got the name. It allows us to cover all bases regardless of where we want to go for the week. So, come hang out, sit down, pour yourself a little bit with us, and you're going to have a good time no matter what.
Thank you, KB82, for letting me know it's clear. Just had to reboot the laptop. There was a little bit of nonsense I did want to touch on real quick.
Oh, by all means, please do, sir.
So went to a baby shower with my wife Saturday. It was awesome. It's a lot of fun. Actually,
no, wait. Don't just stop. Where was the baby shower? Because, guys, I got some pictures from Pinky where he's just holding some drinks and talking about how good the food is. And I'm like, what kind of baby shower is this guy at? And then he fills me in.
Yeah, it was at Hacienda. It was awesome.
For those that don't know, it's a Mexican restaurant here in the Springs. I'm sure there are other locations, but big Mexican restaurant, decent food, solid drinks. But I've never heard anybody throw a baby shower at a restaurant. That was a first for me.
Oh man, they had the whole there was a section that's kind of like they've got doors to the side. Yeah. They had it all closed off. We had it packed. It was full. It was a fun time. Cool. Obviously, my kids are old enough that, the next time I'm worried about a baby, it's a grandbaby, which I can still wait a few years for that. But so we, have these drinks. That was definitely a lot. I would consider that day drunk before we left the baby shower. And I got home and I just wanted to comment that you got a good woman when you're sitting there, and I was about to turn on one of our favorite TV shows that we every year or so we run through all the seasons of Psych.
Okay.
Like every once in a while we just hey, we haven't watched Psych yet. Let's watch Psych.
I never got into that, but Eric, I've had a couple other people tell me that's one I should check out.
It's fantastic, man. It's a lot of fun. So I pull up Peacock and I'm going to Psych. And I noticed WWE Elimination Chamber is on. And And I turn it on, and she just rolls with it. She's like, "Okay, I guess we're watching wrestling."
Nice.
And
well done, Hannah.
it was, that's when you know you got a good woman, that she's not like looking at you like, "Are we really doing this?" Or "I can't believe you're watching this." She just give me another drink, and we just kind of hung out and watched the Elimination Chamber.
You know what? So I've been thinking about this. Like, you know how there's that thing where like wives or girlfriends or whatever will be watching one of their shows that like guys want nothing to do with, and they're watching it so often, like every time you come to the room, you're like, did she really just say that? What's happening? And they're like, do you want to watch it? I can rewind it. You're like, no, that's cool. I don't need to watch this. And then the next thing you know, you're like actually sitting down and watching episodes with her. Like, they could do that with us for WWE. There's enough going on with those that we could like fill them in on the drama and catch them up to speed.
She did a good job catching up. She was just like, okay, I get it. What's going on here? Man,
Can we recap that nonsense? Can that be part of the nonsense today, or is recapping the Elimination Chamber? Because, dear Lord, man, the storylines are starting to get atrocious with this thing.
I have no idea how you have Roman Reigns, you have Brock Lesnar, and you have Bobby Lashley. All gigantic individuals, all with star power, and somehow there's no rivalry there because there's always something stupid going on. Like, Roman Reigns should not be fighting Sami Zayn. I don't care. Like, that dude is like half his size. Like, I know he's not going to beat Roman Reigns. Like, that's not going to happen.
The only way that storyline made sense is if, was it Jimmy? I always mix the two up. Jimmy Uso actually came to Zayn's defense and had hit Roman with the chair. Then it would have made that whole storyline worth it.
But what's really bad about that is, like, they don't have him say anything. They don't have, like, I don't know. That whole
he just stands there and looks at him like he's going to do something and then never does anything. Like,
well, like, I can see in his look, like, hey, bro, like, you've gone too far.
Yeah.
Like, that's what he's conveying with the look.
Sure.
But I can't have a guy stand there for 5 minutes looking at a dude and not actually say anything.
Like, yeah, I agree. It's not a good thing. And then that was like the end of the night, right? But before that, they had already ruined things by allowing this Judgment Day thing to continue and become what it is, which is a worthless storyline.
Without Edge.
Like, yes, Edge started it. Yes, now Edge and the new Judgment Day have issues. But, like, dude, Dominic is worthless. Like, I don't even know how he got signed to the WWE. Like, once Rey Mysterio isn't part of the show, like, you think Dominic would have just been gone? Because he is terrible. Ripley I thought she was better on her own than she's ever been with Judgment Day. Finn Balor had his time. I think he's kind of done. I don't mind Damian Priest. I think him on his own or him teaming up with somebody like you and I were kind of talking about and doing like some kind of DX thing or NWO or something, I could see Damian Priest being something as part of that maybe. But he doesn't carry a lot of star power, so he doesn't bring a whole lot to the table on his own either. So, I mean, I told you, once Vince McMahon was no longer running the show, it sure looked like they lost any identity of what they were trying to accomplish.
Yeah, they need kind of an overhaul. I don't know if I know the solution, but the storyline. I'm a casual fan. I'm not there watching SmackDown and Raw, but when the big events,
I watch Raw in the off seasons. I watch Raw when football's over, so I know some of that. But
the big events are on Peacock for free, so I don't have to pay per pay-per-view. I'm like, hey, I'll sit down and watch it. But
we should be good to go for WrestleMania again this year, so we'll be able to watch that again. I'm pretty sure we'll get together for that coming up in a
so I've watched Spartacus, and there's a little bit too much penis for my wife in that one.
I have not started watching that one, but let's be honest. Does it have more penis than Game of Thrones? Because there's a lot of penis in Game of Thrones. Oh, no. Really?
Yes.
Oh, they went like Greek-style penis, huh?
They went like it's just right in your face.
Yeah, okay.
So, good show. The main actor from Spartacus actually got some type of cancer that ended up, unfortunately, he ended up passing away before season 3.
Dang.
So the first 2 seasons are very enjoyable. I did watch Spartacus. It's a good show, but That's not. That's probably not my wife's style. She's not into the blood and gore and stuff. Game of Thrones. Yeah, I mean, Game of Thrones is
It was pretty bloody and gory,
but not on Spartacus's level. Spartacus is on a different level.
Does she watch The Boys? Because that's even. Oh, okay. I was gonna say The Boys is even worse than Game of Thrones. So
yeah, she does not watch The Boys. I think she's seen a couple episodes and she's like, I don't know why I'm watching this. Like,
it show's so good. You know what I'm looking forward to, Pinky? And for some reason, you and me are the only two that liked it that we've talked to for some reason. But, dude, are they going to do another season of Peacemaker? Because that was fabulous as well.
Yeah, they're working on that right now. That's one of the few things that have survived James Gunn taking over DC.
Well, that's because James Gunn did it.
Yeah, I mean.
So, of course, it's going to survive James Gunn taking over.
He was going to cancel his baby, right?
Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. Not watching The Last of Us, KB82. I don't do zombies. I don't do zombies in any shape, way, or form. And I know that's got a zombie-ish kind of take to it, end of world kind of stuff. It doesn't interest me. I've heard great things about it. I know people that played the video game who said the show is phenomenal, even though it's kind of veered away from the video games. From what I've heard, yeah, I don't do zombie. Anything zombie. The only thing zombie I've ever watched and enjoyed is Zombieland, and that's not really zombie.
Shaun of the Dead.
So, I did forget about Shaun of the Dead. Yeah, I did enjoy that back in the day. I haven't seen that in a long time, actually. Now that that's a blast from the past, kid. I did like Shaun of the Dead. Yeah, I'll give you that one too. But otherwise, no.
You do zombies if it's comedic, not quite if it's like death and despair.
I don't know if all comedic zombie stuff I do, though.
I mean, there's not been that many.
But those two I have done. It just doesn't interest me. Like, it's like scary movies or horror movies. I don't do those either because you seen that commercial. They run into the shed with all the axes and stuff instead of getting in the car and running away. Like, that's what they do. That's the MO. It's always the same. It's boring and lame to me.
So I like horror movies that are like about real situations, and that freaks me out. Like those.
Now you give me a good thriller. You give me a good thriller like a Bone Collector or a why am I drawing a blank on one of my favorite movies? Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman, Kevin Spacey.
That's
Seven, thank you. Seven, love that kind of stuff. But I consider that a very completely different genre than horror or anything else.
I will watch Last of Us. I'm just letting all of the episodes drop before I start watching. I'm going to binge it.
Yeah, we'll see. My wife might have me sit down and watch it, but I've got no interest. So, yeah, I've caught all the way up on all the Yellowstone and all the spinoffs. I am all the way caught up on Mayor of Kingstown. Loving that. That's been good. So we'll see. There's, off season now, so I've got college basketball and NBA to watch, and that's about it. So I'll have time to watch some shows.
Yeah, I'm trying to catch up myself. Trying to think if there's anything I'm working through right now. I've still got to finish House of Dragon.
So Ray, I'm Catholic, so I've definitely seen The Exorcist.
Not Ray with The Exorcist.
Definitely seen The Exorcist, but it's not something I go hunting for, if you will.
Caleb, here's what you don't know about Ray. Ray would watch that on a 24-hour loop. I remember Ray. I remember.
Okay, all right, yeah. Not something I would want to. Exorcist might have hit a little too close to home for me with me being Catholic, and I saw it at a very young age. I want to say I saw that when I was like 10 or 11, and it was like, oh, Mom and Dad, I need to go to confession. I don't want that devil in me. Yeah, so that hit a little close to home when I was young. But solid, But yeah, I don't go hunting for that stuff by any means. You gotta have something in the story that hits close to home for me to want to go ahead and finish watching you.
Yeah, I just
Like,
my wife doesn't.
what's the one stupid one where it's the brother and sister driving down the highway and they piss off that truck driver or whatever, and he starts chasing them, and they end up
You
at
talking
some
about that
house.
Paul Walker one?
No, not the Paul Walker one. I'm drawing a blank on anything he plays. This is not a good example of what he plays in, but he does one of the Die Hards with Bruce Willis, the last Die Hard with Bruce Willis. He's the kid that ends up liking his daughter. He's a nerd tech. You know who I'm talking about? Is that his name?
Jeepers
Him and his
Creepers.
sister are like driving in a car going back to college or something.
Yeah. The two
Jeepers
guys
Creepers.
already
There you
said it before
go.
I did.
Yeah, thank you guys. Jeepers Creepers. Boom. Boom. Well done, fellas. He like falls down a well and they're like, well, let's go see if he's still alive. Like, no. And unless that truck has like 1,000 horsepower and a couple shots of nitrous, it's not keeping up with their station wagon down the interstate. And other people are going to see this and like call the cops before the movie even starts. Just dumb. No creativity. Stupid.
I mean, the first one was
Identical
fun, the second
storyline
one
for
was
all
bad.
of them as far as I'm concerned. My wife won't even let me watch them with her anymore because I'll sit there and just ruin it the whole way. Like, oh, guess what's going to happen now? Oh, they're about to do this. And she's like, how do you know this? I'm like, that's the formula. Like, that's what's supposed to happen.
Yeah. The wife doesn't like horror movies, so we don't really like. That's just not something we really watch, for the most part. It's
That
gotta
might be weird though too, because like I'm a dude who loves a good story too. So like 7 Years in Tibet, love that movie. I won't watch it a lot because it's long as hell, and once you've seen the story, you kind of get an idea of what it is. But I like stuff like that. I like everything actually except for horror. Really, now that I think about it.
Nobody got time for that 7 Years in Tibet. That's way too long.
Yeah, that was kind of a once or twice viewing. It's not it's not good enough to do the Lord of the Rings director's cut all day binge kind of thing. That's for sure. Oh, Ray, comedies are worthless these days. They used to be solid, but I can't really think of very many good comedies these days, unfortunately. So we'll see. War movies, of course. Love war movies. I'm a big history guy. Love history. So you start doing stuff like that, and I am all for it. The more I can learn, the more I can add to what I might already know or don't know. Give it to me all day long.
All right. Are we ready to talk some sports now? We got some nonsense out of us.
We're on a good roll right now. Do we want to ruin that?
We're not talking Broncos tonight. We're talking sports. We're good.
Oh, KB82, you're going to hate me for this, but I thought The Big Lebowski was overrated. Thought it was overrated. I don't hate it. I just don't think it's as cult classic and brilliant as everybody likes to claim it to be. So, Pinky, are you agreeing with me on that?
Yeah, it's okay.
Oh, I didn't see that coming. Cheers, my good man.
It's okay. Like I would, if it's on, I'd watch it. I'd still laugh, but yeah, to me, it doesn't hit my funny bone.
I'm trying to think of some of my favorites.
But I also hate Wes Anderson. Like all of his movies are not funny at all. Like none of them.
Yeah, I kind of feel that way about Jude Apatow. I don't really think any of his stuff is that good.
I did like his run that he had for a little bit was pretty good in my opinion.
I just didn't really like it. I'll tell you one that I do love that I cannot get enough of, and it's always funny to me. And maybe I'm the only one, but you give me some Grandma's Boy, and I am laughing front to back.
I mean, Grandma's Boy is fun, but it ain't that good, man.
It's pretty funny.
It's funny, but it's not like.
I think it's the best Adam Sandler movie.
I mean, Uncut Gems is the best Adam Sandler movie, but
I'm talking comedies. I'm talking comedies.
Oh man, I've got I've just got a place in my heart for Waterboy.
Waterboy's solid. I'd still take Grandma's Boy. The closest I would give you is I'd say Billy Madison and Happy Gilmore.
But he's not even like he's just a side character in Grandma's Boy. That's not even.
Oh, he's not even in it.
It's a Happy Madison.
Happy Madison Productions, and all the guys that are in his movies are the ones that do Grandma's Boy.
Yeah, I remember Grandma's Boy. I actually liked Out Cold was my like side comedy.
Out Cold was solid. That was solid. Nothing like drinking some beers down a mountain and seeing who comes out first. Solid stuff. All right. There's some comedy in the NBA that we could talk about too, probably. I mean,
you've been waiting so long. You've been waiting so long to talk about the NBA.
Look, it is kind of my baby. Basketball was really the first sport. I don't know if I'll say it was my first love, but it was the first sport that I fell in love with playing. First sport I really ever played, I think, was soccer. Football on the playground growing up, everybody did. But basketball was kind of my thing. And maybe it's because I was really good at it. I lucked out and I was really good at it. So maybe that's why I liked it so much. But there's something about basketball where there's more of a chess match going on than people realize. If you get two really good teams and two really good coaches, not as much today in the NBA game, which is sad. But it's not like football. Football I love because it's a chess match and the thought process and the things you do and all of that goes into it. Love that. But basketball is just me. I don't know how to explain it. I just love basketball. So we're going to dive into the NBA. I'm going to start off with saying that the NBA has finally failed the fans. All-Star Weekend is a bust. It is, and you might be blown away by this, Pinky. It is the worst all-star event in all of sports right now.
Worse than the Pro Bowl?
Yes. After this weekend, yes. What they put on this weekend was an absolute joke. It's a mess. It's an absolute mess. The only thing worth watching anymore is the three-point contest. But even that, they've screwed up because now they got a whole rack of money balls instead of just one money ball per rack. Like, why do you have to change that? What does that do? Just a higher score so people all of a sudden think it's better because it's a higher score? They still see dudes missing a bunch of shots. That doesn't change. So it doesn't matter if the score's higher because you get a couple extra points because the balls are worth more. So even that, they've screwed up. Congratulations to Matt McClung. I thought he did solid. I think if the people who should be in the dunk contest were in the dunk contest, he doesn't make it out of the first round. I think he's a phenomenal dunker. But I find it hard to believe that if guys like Zion and Ja and Aaron Gordon and Zach LaVine were all in the dunk contest, I find it hard to believe that Matt McClung would be able to hang with them. So I don't put as much stock in the dunk contest being saved by him like a lot of people are. I've got a theory about LeBron after watching this All-Star Weekend that I will divulge at a later time because we're going to be talking about some GOATs here soon. So I will discuss that later, and I'll save that for then. The game was the worst thing I have seen in I don't even know how long when it comes to sports. You had dudes literally standing next to the sideline while two guys would just go one-on-one to see what would happen. It was pathetic. More half-court shots than should have ever been taken in anything that was more than goofing around game. Yeah, I'm just not going to go into all of it. It's not worth the time, but it was bad. Really bad, Pinky.
I didn't watch any of it.
The skills contest, they're doing 3 sets of teams. It was awful. The Celebrity All-Star game isn't even as good as it used to be, but I will say props to The Miz. Your half-court shots tie the game at the end of regulation should have counted. That clock operator got a little happy and started that clock before you caught the ball. So that should have counted. Well done, Miz. Way to represent the WWE universe. Other than that, that's about the end of it. A little over halfway point. We're moving into the second half of the season. Things are going to start moving quickly.
Well, and you're not the only person that talked about the NBA All-Star game sucking. Even Mike Malone, the coach, was just like, "This is the worst basketball we've ever seen." Like he hated it.
I wasn't going to say yes. I was going to bring that up here in a second, but yes, he based on his looks and his comments after the game, I would say he didn't want to be there. That's what I would say. I would say he didn't want to be there at all.
Well, there's no coaching going on, so I don't even know why they have a coach count.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. KB82, I agree. There are some dudes out there who can do some amazing things. And I've said this for, last 5 years or so, probably, Pinky, that's what they need to do for the dunk contest. If the pros aren't going to participate, they need to bring those guys in and showcase what can be done. And that would be a lot more fun than watching, subpar NBA players. So, yeah, All-Star Weekend was a joke. And what's even funnier is after the game, this was my favorite quote of the whole weekend. The Joker was asked how he felt about being the last pick of the draft, and he said, "I'd have picked me last too. I'm not built for this game." And that summed up everything you need to know about the Joker in one sentence. So, a lot of people not happy that he's the leader for the 3-time MVP. Very upset about it, say it's not deserving. But if you step back and you watch his game and you see what he contributes, dude, I'd take Joker over. God, I don't even want to put a percentage on it, but I would say I'm going to put a percentage on it. I would say 90% of the NBA is athletic with no skills. That's what I would say the NBA is these days. Athletic with no skills. The Joker is non-athletic with a ton of skills. And I would rather watch somebody who's non-athletic with a ton of skills play basketball all day, every day, than some dude who all he can do is dunk and maybe rebound. Like, that does nothing for me. Zero for me.
Well, and then they have zero basketball IQ. They have, no defense.
Yep. Now, I'm a point guard at heart. So a beautiful pass and assist will get me just as hyped, if not more hyped, than an insane dunk. So, I love the beauty of the game, and there's not very many people who play it that way anymore.
Being smart at basketball gets you a long way. Look at Tim Duncan.
No doubt. The fundamental.
I tell you, he was the most boring basketball player to watch. But when you looked at the end of the game,
Mr. Fundamental himself.
You were like, well, shit, he scored 20 points. He had 10 rebounds, and his team won. And it was night after night.
Night after night. Night after night, no doubt.
Now that we're moving into the second half, what should the people be looking for, Caleb? What should we be hyping up?
I think you've got a three-team race in the East. I think Cleveland is just outside. I think they're a little young. I don't think they're quite ready to make that jump just yet. So they are sitting in the 4 seed. They could surprise some people and make the finals in the East. Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, Garland.
They'd have to have some things go their way.
They would have to break their way for sure. But they're a dark horse. But I think they're a year or two away with how young they are. That 3-team race can be Boston, Milwaukee, and Philadelphia. I don't think Philadelphia has a shot legitimately against a healthy Milwaukee and a healthy Boston.
Damn.
I think they can take somebody to a 6 or 7 game series. I don't think they can win it.
Milwaukee's won 12 straight. Damn.
Milwaukee is playing really well. They're getting healthy. Chris Middleton is back. Unfortunately, Giannis is gonna miss a game or two with his wrist injury, but no major structural damage, so that's good news. I like Milwaukee over Boston if all things are equal and everybody's healthy. I like Milwaukee to come out. I don't think Boston is as strong and deep as they were last year. I also think Milwaukee is an insanely good defensive team. And so if Middleton is full strength by then and Giannis is full strength by then, they are so much better at defense than Tatum and Brown are. So if they can cause Tatum and Brown to struggle a little bit, Boston suffers drastically.
I would see that as like a 4-2 series. Like Bucks would win in 6 games.
I agree. I actually agree with that, Pinky. If everybody's healthy, I agree with that. So three-team race. Miami could come out of nowhere and be a dark horse to make the championship as well. I'm not betting on it, but signing Kevin Love is a sneaky good pick. Yes, he's a little older. Yes, he's not quite the same as he was before. But putting him with Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler and Hero and all those boys down there in Miami and letting Kevin Love run with them, it's a sneaky good move that Miami got him. So keep an eye on Miami. I'm not expecting big things, but keep an eye on them. Last thing I'll say about the East is twofold. One, Brooklyn was making a push and moving up the standings before those trades happened with KD and Kyrie. So they're sitting in the 5 seed right now. I expect them to end the season probably, honestly, playing in those bubble games and not making it out of them. So expect Brooklyn to fall off drastically. However, they play their cards right and they look at doing things correctly. They could follow in Cleveland's footsteps over the next couple of years, and you could see a resurgence rather quickly if they stay away from signing terrible superstars. That seems to be an MO of the Brooklyn Nets. I don't make a terrible trade to go ahead and get Garnett, Pierce, and everybody else on there when they were way past their due. And now you're doing it with KD, and it's just a mess there. So Brooklyn, figure it out. There's smarter ways to build a team. And then Atlanta, by a lot of people's standards, are drastically underachieving this year. They just fired their coach today, Nate McMillan. I think Trae Young is overrated. People are trying to put him in the star category. They're trying to put him on the same level as Luka because they're in the same draft and they were traded for each other. Trae puts up points, but he doesn't make anybody around him better as far as I'm concerned.
He puts up a lot of shots to get those points, too.
He plays, and this is going to sound crazy, so stay with me here. And this is, you know what, you want to yell at me, you want to argue with me, by all means, go for it. But this is my take. Trae Young is a selfish player. And the reason I say it's probably crazy to some people is because the dude puts up a ton of assists, too. But they're not assists in which I feel like they're for the better of the team. They're not upping the ante for everything around him. He's not a tide that raises all boats. It's just not him. He would be a good number 2 or 3 on a team, I think, especially if you can get him to limit some of his shot taking. But as the number 1 guy, nah. And until Atlanta figures that out and realizes it, they're not going anywhere. So that's the East. Quick rundown, obviously. Keep an eye on it. We'll be talking basketball more regularly, so I'll be increasing these ideas. Out West, you already know where I'm going. And if you don't know where I'm going, then you have no idea who I am. I am a Nuggets dude, through and through. And I will be objective. I have no problem being objective with the Nuggets. And I've taken a lot of heat from Nuggets fans over the years because I've been objective and they didn't like it. The Nuggets have not been a very well-run organization over the years. I think there have been some things here that were done recently in the last decade where Stan stepped back and let Josh start running the team. And then the moves that Josh has made to bring in GMs and unfortunately, we just lost the GM this last year.
Hold on. The GM we lost, though, went to Minnesota.
Yeah.
And has, blown them up. So
he didn't make some very good moves. But if I remember correctly, and I might have to go check my timeline on this again, he came after the Gobert situation. He was not fully in charge when that Gobert trade was made, I believe. If he was, then that was a very not O'Connell move to make, which probably to me means the owners had the final say. Dude, that was one of the worst trades in NBA history. And the fact that nobody's talking about it is beyond me. Rudy Gobert is trash. Legit. I have no problem saying that. Dude is not good.
I don't think he's trash.
He's
I
trash.
just don't think he's he's not a number one that you trade away all these draft packs for because he doesn't change the outcome of the game.
He's an offensive liability. He's an offensive liability.
Yeah.
He can rebound and he can kind of play defense.
I mean,
the reason I say kind of is because he doesn't play on the perimeter. You put him out on the perimeter, he's screwed. He likes to think he's good at guarding out in the perimeter because he's so lanky, but he's not. He's not.
This guy is better in all assets of the game than Gobert. But my comparison would be just like having Ben Wallace on your team. Like Ben Wallace.
I take Ben Wallace in a heartbeat. Well, yeah. I like the comparison. I see where you're going.
Like Ben Wallace was there for rebounds and playing defense, and he would add in some offense more than Gobert does. But like it's kind of on that comparison. You don't trade 3 number ones and all this stuff for that player.
Well, and Ben Wallace knew his role.
And
he knew what he was. He didn't try to go outside of it.
Like,
yeah, you're not a
basketball expert, and I know you don't do that.
Yeah, that's Ben Wallace though knew his role on those Pistons teams, and he soaked it up, loved it, and took it to heart. Gobert thinks he's a superstar. Like he honestly thinks he's like the dude, and he's not. He's trash. He's trash in my opinion. Terrible, awful trade. So. Yeah, I don't know what the Timberwolves are doing, but the Nuggets have started to make things over the last decade in the right direction. Obviously, when you have the foresight, and this was O'Connell, drafting Jokic and developing him and allowing him the time to move forward. That's huge. And then, getting Jamal Murray, looking out and getting MPJ, filling those pieces around him. They have done an amazing job this year filling out the roster. I was not happy with the trade deadline. I thought there were some things they could have done. I thought moving Bones for 2 seconds was worthless. But you luck out and get Reggie Jackson to sign off the market after he gets his buyout. You do get a nice piece in Bryant to back up that front court, which was much needed. Nuggets are deep and dangerous, especially with Jamal Murray, Mr. Blue Arrow himself. Coming back and looking like his old self playing with Joker. Oh, so good. KCP leading 3-point shooter in the league. Great defensive wing.
We need Murray's. So Murray's injured knee is fine, but his other knee has had issues because it's been compensating for his injured knee.
Exactly. And that's common, especially the first year back like this from a major surgery. So as long as they can keep maintaining it, load managing it, which I hate that term, but in his situation, it's valid. That's good. They just need to be healthy come playoffs.
They've got a 5-game lead. They've won games without him.
Exactly. They're so deep.
They definitely don't have the firepower when he's not out there. But it just. I
don't think it ever meshed well. And I don't think it looked good either, KD82. But that's me. I've never been a Gobert fan. I thought he was the reason the Jazz couldn't go further. I honestly believe he was what was holding them back. And they made it clear, for whatever reason, before Danny Ainge showed up, they made it clear that they wanted to keep both of them. And they should have dumped him in a heartbeat and ran with Donovan Mitchell.
Three bigs don't normally work together. Like, that doesn't normally work.
Well, it also doesn't help when Gobert can't play any offense. Towns can't play any defense. D'Angelo Russell's up and coming, but he needs the ball. He's more of a ball-centric point guard. Edwards is the dude. Edwards is the dude. And you should have built around him and Towns and put pieces around them that fit. They didn't do that. So, West, Nugs, number 1, like Pinky said, 5-game lead. Comfortable 5-game lead. It's not just a 5-game lead. It's a comfortable 5-game lead. They are the team to beat in the West. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what John Morant says. He's not worried about anybody else in the West. Those Grizzlies are going to get smoked this year. They got lucky last year. They're going to get smoked this year.
And John Morant, that team hasn't been as good since he said that. So
no, not even close. Not even close. And they're the 2 seed. They probably hang on to the 2 seed just because you've only got like 23 games left in the season. So that doesn't give a lot of time for other teams to move up. Sacramento being the 3 seed is absurd. They're playing some good ball, but Sacramento right now reminds me of the Nuggets after they traded Melo. lot of solid pieces. Not necessarily that one great piece. I think De'Aaron Fox is amazing. I think De'Aaron Fox is a superstar.
They're still banking on him.
Sabonis is playing really good. Sabonis is playing really good. But outside of that, they don't have a whole lot. Excuse me. They'll get exposed come playoff time right now. Can they keep building over the next couple of years and continue to grow? Sure.
It's a fun story, right? They haven't made the playoffs in years, so this is a
Not
good
bad.
story.
Not bad. I'm sure your buddy Greg is loving life right now because they went from cellar dwellers to
he was out there
third in the West.
He was out there for Super Bowl weekend and got to go see a game. So he was having a good
Good
time.
for him. Good for him. They got something to discuss. I'll agree with that. KB82. I like Sabonis game. I like it a lot. I don't think he's as versatile as Jokic is. He's a little bit better on the defensive end, so I will give him that. A little more athletic. But his overall game is not as versatile. His vision is nowhere near Jokic. Jokic has all-time great vision. Sabonis doesn't have that. Jokic has more bags in his tricks. Yes, I said that correctly. I've been saying it that way since I was a little kid. He's got more bags in his tricks than Sabonis does as well. But I like that idea. He's a poor man Jokic. I like that. So Sacramento, they're not going to do anything in the West, but it's a nice story that they're rising. The problem is who they would be looking at playing in the first round. Now, if they get Minnesota in the first round, I'd take Sacramento to get out of the first round. But if they get a Golden State, if they get a Lakers or something like that, they're done. They're done quick. So not expecting much from Sacramento.
I mean,
Clippers are interesting. People are hating on Russ, but Russ playing with PG and Kawhi is a little bit sneaky. I like them to get to the second round. I don't like them to move past that. So keep that in mind. Then you get in some really they're the Clippers. You know who the Clippers are, Pinky? And you'll love this. The Clippers are the Chargers of the NBA.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay. This is where things start getting really interesting. The 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 seed. Listen to me here. It goes Phoenix, Dallas, New Orleans, Minnesota, Golden State, OKC. Phoenix, I doubt, stays at the 5 seed. I think they move up to the 4 or the 3, which hurts the Clippers or Sacramento. But once you add KD, he comes back and starts playing with that group. It's going to be hard to slow them down completely. Dallas is going to be interesting because they grabbed Kyrie. Luka's a beast, and look what Luka did last year without any help. Now, we know how I feel about Kyrie, Pinky, so I'm not going to go, oh my God, it's going to save the Dallas Mavericks. I actually don't like the trade for Dallas. I think it hurts them because I don't see any way he stays with them long term. And even if he does, why would you want Kyrie on your team long term? Talented as all hell, but he's not going to be there when you need him. Plain and simple. And that's his MO, and it's always going to be his MO. By all accounts, good dude outside of basketball, thinks he's smarter than everybody else, so arrogant, but by all accounts, good dude when it comes to donating time and money to charities and things of that nature, so I'll give him that. Basketball court, on the court, phenomenal talent, all-time great talent on the court, but he's only on the court like 50% of the time. So as a basketball player, as a whole, he's a terrible asset.
Has he even played a game with Luka yet?
Yes. How many, though, I cannot remember. I want to say 2 now. Because right when he got traded, Luka was hurt. Yeah, Luka was hurt, and then he came in. I told you it was a bad trade because what they gave up to get Kyrie weakened the team overall. You got more on the offensive end, but you got a lot worse on the defensive end. And you lost 2 key rotation guys.
And, I mean, you weren't great on defense to begin with.
Right. But I love Luka. I mean,
everybody loves Luka. Luka's fun.
Larry Bird Jr. Love me some Luka Doncic. I said he should have gone number 1 the year he came out. I was blown away that Atlanta drafted him and was willing to trade him for Trae Young. Just so many things that were like, why? So Luka can carry them to the second round, regardless of who they play in the first round. I fully believe that. I don't think they're making it out this year. The West is deep and loaded, and there's not injuries this year, by all accounts right now. And then from there, it gets even more interesting because New Orleans, does Zion come back and play at all this year? Because if he doesn't, they could fall all the way out. They could. They could hang on and play the bubble. They might fall all the way out. I don't know. Minnesota, I don't trust them to get out of the first round. Not at all. Not even a little bit. Anthony Edwards is going to be really good, though. Keep an eye on him for his career because he's going to be really good.
I mean, they're going to have to fight. If Steph Curry comes back, the Golden State's going to move up. They're going to.
Hell yeah, Golden State's going to move up. And what's really scary is if they still stay in that bubble range because there's not a lot of games left and they're kind of just hanging on right now, that could be a Nugget first-round matchup. And I would pick the Nuggets to win actually in 5 or 6 this year, honestly. But I still wouldn't want to play the Warriors first round because, dude, I think you know how I feel about Steph. And Clay's starting to look like old Clay a little bit. And you get those two going, it could be scary.
I just don't think they have what I don't think they have it this year.
I agree. I agree, but it's still not something I'd want to roll the dice on. You know what I mean? Like, let's just avoid that at all costs if we can. And then, OKC, I don't think they can hang on to that 10 because you've got the Lakers sitting out there. So I think OKC will eventually get bumped. The Lakers are scary. And the Lakers are the one matchup right now that I would not want the Nugs to see in the first round. Because whether people want to admit it or not, what they did at the trade deadline was fabulous. It was amazing. It was it was beyond what I thought they could have ever pulled out of their bag.
Let's be honest. We have 23 more games for Street Clothes Davis to show up again. Like, he's played the last, I think, week or two, and they're like 500 over those games. So, like, he's not enough. And then LeBron's been back and forth, missing time. I just don't know if they're going to be able to stay healthy enough to make a difference. Health
will be the issue for sure. But don't overlook them. They scare me right now, and I hate saying that because I thought they were done. I didn't think there'd be any way they could do anything at the trade deadline that would move that needle. And they didn't just move the needle; they put themselves back.
I mean, they could definitely get into that bubble, play-in bubble.
Oh, they're getting into the playoff bubble. They're getting into the bubble, Pinky. It's just, where is their final seed? Because that's not something I want the Nuggets to see in the first round. You know what I'd love to see is them somehow get that 7 seed and bump Memphis out in the first round and shut Ja Morant and all those guys up. Which sucks because I love Ja Morant. The dude talks too much right now. He's talking way too much for not accomplishing anything.
I don't mind the Grizzlies playing around and getting to the finals against the Nuggets, and the Nuggets will whoop them like we do anyways.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be fine too, but I would love to see them get bumped in the first round by the Lakers. I would absolutely love that, especially all that smack they were talking.
Our boy KB earlier said, will Joker have 30 triple-doubles? Yes.
Yes, sir. I missed that. My bad.
He's at 21 or 22 right now.
I could easily see him getting 30. I do believe he's going to finish the season averaging a trip dub. And that's going to mean a lot more than when Russ did it because he's going to finish as the 1 seed in the West. He's going to knock an MVP out, and he's going to average a trip dub. And people are always wondering, well, why do you even win the last 2? You're seeing it now. Because when they're fully healthy with Jokic playing at an MVP level, they're the best team in the NBA. Now, some people might argue with me there because they do not have the best record in the NBA. They're a full game. A full game out of best record. Boston has that right now. But Boston plays in the East, guys. There's nothing after that top 3 in the East, like I said. You want to go top 4? I'm good. I'll give you the top 4 because I do like Cleveland. Young, but I do like them. But there's nothing after that top 4. Look what I just did in the West. Even before Kevin Garnett went to the Suns were still a dangerous team. Well, the West is loaded, and Jokic is running through them right now.
Kevin Durant went to the Suns, but
who did I say?
Kevin Garnett.
Oh, God, that's terrible. Did I really say that? That is awful. I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, KD, Kevin Durant. Anything is possible! Mr. Garnett was in the news here this week with Paul Pierce for some stupid-ass shit coming out of their mouths. Did you hear about this, Pinky?
I did not.
Sidetrack, side note, those two dumbasses say nobody should be allowed a Hall of Fame unless you have at least 1 title. two dudes who wouldn't even have a title unless they got together with Ray Allen to go win one.
I disagree with that. Charles Barkley is definitely a Hall of Famer.
It's a stupid ass take.
Karl Malone, John Stockton.
There's a lot. Guys. Elgin Baylor, Jerry West. Like, dude, the list is big. Actually, Jerry got one. The list is big. And all of those dudes we just named, I'd take over both KG and Paul Pierce in a heartbeat. Paul Pierce is a joke.
Paul Pierce has always got a little piece of my heart, okay?
Hell no. KU trash, dude. Paul Pierce is the most overrated NBA player in history. Most overrated NBA player in history. KG, all-time great. I'll give KG his due. But he's never winning a title unless he gets to Boston and teams up with Pierce and Ray Allen. So that is one of the worst sports takes I've heard in a very long time. Very long.
So it kind of reminds me a little bit about like during Super Bowl week, whatever show Dion was on, I watched. Whoever Dion went and got on Media Row with, I watched that interview. And he was on with Peter King and was very candid. And he was like, the Hall of Fame's a joke. He's like, there's a bunch of dudes in here that have no reason to be here. And he was like, and if you do let them in, there needs to be an upper hall. You know, and I feel like maybe that's where KG and Paul Pierce should have gone of like, hey, you know, like if you don't have a title, like you can't be in that upper hall, maybe. But
but just because you have a title doesn't put you in that upper hall either, KG and Paul Pierce.
Correct. And again, you know me, and you know, as we talk about GOATs, like to me, rings are a part of the equation. They're not the be all.
Agreed. So I like the idea of the different levels of Hall of Fames. There's a book out. It's an old book now by Bill Simmons called The Book of Basketball. And it's basically his criteria to come up with the order of how he would say all-time NBA players are ranked. And he goes through and ranks all of them based on his criteria and his pyramid. I think it's a great read, whether you agree with him or not. He's a huge Boston fan, so it's a very Boston-biased, Boston-heavy book. But if you can look past that, I think the way it's written and his thought process is brilliant. And he basically does that. There's categories. There's levels to the pyramid. And he breaks that down of why and how. So I've kind of always believed that.
Which is funny because on Twitter or Facebook, you'll see those posts every once in a while that will literally put the guys in a pyramid. Here's the lower level. Here's this level. Here's the top. Like, so yeah, that makes sense.
Yes. So that's where we're at with the NBA right now. You know, we'll keep moving as things go forward. I'll talk about it every week. We'll talk about some hot topics moving forward towards the playoffs, and we'll go from there. That being said, let's transition to a little brief NHL, Pinky. Hit me with what you got right now a little bit.
Well, the NHL had recently come back from their All-Star Week, which I think went fairly well, except for it was in Miami.
Yeah, seeing guys in shorts on the beach doing stuff was not quite what I wanted from the NHL. I get it, but not quite what I wanted.
So what's really funny, and I think hockey players, they don't get as much credit for being athletic. But here's guys who are moving really fast on skates, able to run into people, bounce off, move their stick, move a puck, and then still all of a sudden like shoot that puck or pass it or whatever they need to do on a whim, right? There's athletic talent in there. They're not going to always get credit for it. I will say, though, if you take the pads, you get them off the skates, you take them on the pads, you put them in shorts and a T-shirt, you'd have no idea they're hockey players.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
So, because they showed, of course, being Avs fans, there was a lot of videos of Cale Makar, Mikko, and Nathan McKinnon hanging out in Miami. And every time you see them, you're like, those guys just look like random, like, young dudes. Like, they don't even look like they don't look like athletes.
That's true.
But, so they came out of that. coming out of the All-Star break, it's all about Boston, baby. Boston's
fastest to 90 points in NHL history.
They're just crushing it, man. Now, it was funny because I saw there was like an interview with the Avalanche coach, and somebody was asking about Boston. He's like, Boston's amazing. They're great. He's like, but they've had like 3 players get injured. We've had like 30 players get injured.
Yeah.
So he's like,
yeah,
like there's a whole dynamic there. Now they're just playing on a whole different level at the moment. Like, I don't know if there's any team in the East that's going to challenge them this year. I just like
it doesn't feel like it right now. Doesn't feel like it right now.
Their goalie is on fire. They're playing great defense, and they're just scoring like they're just overpowering you, which is kind of like what the Avs. I mean, the Avs didn't have a great goaltender; they had an average goaltender last year, but they'd overpower you with how many goals they could score, and that's where Boston's at right now. They're averaging like 4 or 5 goals a game, and like that's just hard to keep up with.
Absolutely. Now you bring up a great point about the Avs. They're looking to sneak into the playoffs, unfortunately, because of all the injuries they've had. But they're solidly in, I believe, the 7th spot right now.
Well, we'll get there first. Let's talk a little bit about
my bad.
first.
Okay, my bad.
Going a little too quick. So I know our buddy Cody would talk about the Hurricanes. So as good as the Bruins are, Hurricanes are just a couple points behind them. The Hurricanes are at 84 points. The Bruins are at 91. And they've won almost the same amount of games. It's just that Boston has like 43 wins, and then they've got those 5 overtime points that add in there. Of course, you still got the Lightning, who are always – I mean, I watched the Avs Lightning game. It's about a week. It's like I want to say 2 or 3 games before the All-Star break. Avs were up 3-1. All of a sudden, their goalie turned into Superman, wouldn't let anything by him. And the Avs were getting great shots off, and it just didn't matter, man. That Russian is awesome. He's really good.
Probably the best goaltender in the league, or top 2.
So,
and they've still got their core. Their core's been healthy this year, so that helps. You talked about those injuries. That's a big deal.
Vasilevsky is just a great goalie. Whether I think once you have a great goalie, where you rank them, like whatever, but on any given day, they can just shut down their opponent.
Absolutely.
So the Eastern Conference, I just would be shocked if anybody but the Bruins won the East. I mean, I just don't even.
At this point in time, it's hard to see anybody else moving forward.
I mean, Bruins and Hurricanes are probably the best 2 in the East, and they're going to be tough to beat either one of those guys. So going over to the Western Conference, the Avs have been in a predicament for a little while based on injuries, but have no fear, Caleb. They're only 5 points out of first.
I know, and they're the 7th seed, right? I believe right now they're the 7th seed.
They are the 7th seed overall.
Yeah,
they're 5 points out of first in their division. The Stars are the 2nd seed. They're the team that they're chasing right now.
And that's what, like you said,
the Stars have lost 4 games straight.
Well, and the Avs, like you said already, have missed 75% of their team at some points this season. Like, the injuries have been absurd. Makar just went out again with a head injury, concussion protocol, which is not what Avs fans want to hear, because let's be honest. If everybody else is healthy and we don't have Makar in the playoffs, the Nuggets aren't winning it again. The Avs aren't winning it again. They're just not, unfortunately. And I hate saying that, but Makar is such a difference maker that if he's not there, I don't know if they can get over the hill.
Thankfully, their guy, Bo Byram, just came back, who's on a tier below Makar.
I agree.
As a defenseman. He's right there, but he's not quite as, like, Makar can do things with the puck that not many defensemen can do.
I mean, Makar was being mentioned as the greatest player in the game. So that's no knock to Bo Byram. You know what I mean? Like, the dude's playing potentially, arguably, at an all-star level. And he's young. So as he keeps growing, him and Makar are going to be dangerous together.
what's crazy is like the teams that are all above the Avs right now, the Avs have all beat these guys. So I think it's just the injuries that have kind of added up. But almost all the guys have come back. So Rodriguez came back, Byram came back, Manson came back. McKinnon was out for like 3 weeks. We got him back, and he's playing really good now.
Yep.
We got to get Makar healthy. Landeskog started skating.
I was hoping you'd mention that this week, right? He just started skating again this week. So that's a great sign.
The captain is getting ready. Georgie is actually, depending on the game, Georgie can play some really good goaltending.
He's young too. He's young too, so keep that in mind.
There's certain games where, like, and again, our defense will kind of let up and give him, unfortunately, some bad breaks. But I will say, the game the other day against the Edmonton Oilers could really be the turning point of the season, because that's a great thought. We had a lot of games last year where if we got behind 2 goals, like, it was no thing. Like, we still thought we were going to win that game.
Yep.
This season, we have not had that at all. Like, if we got down a goal or 2, like, we lost that game. Like, we didn't come back. We didn't get effort. We were down. I was in the movie. I was in Ant-Man, and I'm paying attention to the score. My wife's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Shh, the Avs are on." And I'm watching, and I'm like, well, shit, the Avs are down 3-0.
3-0.
I'm like, oh shit, the Avs are down 5. It was 5-3 in the third quarter, period.
Third period.
And I'm like, huh. So I'm like, fine, they're not going to win this game. Put my phone away. We're getting out. I pull up the score, and it's in overtime.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the hell happened? And then I see in overtime we end up winning.
Oh, it's quick too. It was like a minute or 2 into overtime.
Yeah.
They won.
And I was like, that is what, like, we needed that, like, that ability to come back, overcome that adversity, and come out ahead. Like,
well, and I fully agree with you. And I maybe this is being biased. Maybe I'm not being objective with this. I'd like to think I am, but maybe I'm not. But I truly believe if the Avs get fully healthy before the playoffs and they're healthy going through the playoffs, they are the team to beat in the West. Period. Bar none, no questions asked. It's just whether or not they'll be able to run with Boston this year.
So I fully healthy in the West, I think they can beat everybody. Just when you break it down, the Avs fully healthy, and if they get their groove back, so that's one thing I haven't seen this season. Last year, man, they were just in a groove, and they would just score in bunches, and they would overpower you. This year, like, they've just been a little off. Like,
unfortunately, last year they were pretty much healthy by now, so they're able to already build up that groove going into the playoffs. We're getting healthier a lot later this season than they did last season, so it is going to be interesting to see.
I want to say the last week and a half, you started to see some good signs, and they've won the last 3 games. So they've got some momentum behind them. So
I like that. Well,
like in the West, like, I'm not scared of the Knights. I'm not scared of the Stars. I'm not scared of the Jets. I'm not scared of the Kings. I'm not scared of the Kraken.
The Oilers are still a concern.
I mean, the Oilers put up 5, like, no problem on us, like, that quick. So yeah.
When you have 2 great players like Draisaitl and McDavid, it's kind of hard to.
Well, and McDavid didn't even score in that game. Draisaitl got 1.
Yeah.
The other ones came from role players. So
yeah.
But I think we still have 28 games left.
Sounds about right.
They play about 82, so they
play 82, just like the NBA. Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting close, so we should know some more as things start to iron out a little bit. I don't think the Avs miss the playoffs.
They won't miss the playoffs. That's not even a concern of mine. It's just where they end up in seeding, and are they fully healthy? Because if they're not fully healthy, they could get a bad matchup in that first round and get knocked out, unfortunately. But it sounds like they're going to be fully healthy.
I don't know if I see a bad matchup for them, though. I mean, if healthy, they're going to mop the floor with any of these guys in the first round.
I will honestly say if Landeskog isn't back by the first round, because there's no guarantee yet. The idea is he will be, but there's no guarantee yet. He could have a setback once he starts skating and going full go. They're not real sure where he's at yet. And if Makar, head injuries are scary, man. And you don't know how somebody's going to come back, especially if this is his second time in concussion protocol. Look what happened with Tua. Tua plays the whole season. Miami's in the AFC Championship game, in my opinion. They beat Buffalo for sure. So head injuries are scary. And if Makar and Landeskog are not there, it's going to be touch or go for the Avs a little bit.
I know Makar's on the shelf for at least like the next. I think they said he's out for at least the next 2 games right now.
So I think it's longer than that. I was reading something today that I'd never heard of, and it's like long-term injured reserve, which is where you're going to miss. I forgot to save it. I apologize, but it's something I never heard of in hockey, and it was a great breakdown of it. So it was really cool to read. But it was like you miss more than 10 games, or if you're going to miss more than 2 weeks, or more than 10 games in a row, or something like that. Like if you already know you're going to be out for that, then it gives the team additional salary cap to go grab a player. Really cool thing that I'd never even known about, actually.
So Makar is out this weekend, is what the stat is, or what the thing.
Yeah, but dude, you know hockey. He has an upper body injury. He has a lower body injury. He's in concussion protocol.
Makar is placed in concussion protocol. He will be sidelined at least through the weekend. And then, of course, they did lose Eric Johnson because he broke his ankle. So he's going to be out for the rest of the regular season.
That's a big loss. But
they offset that with getting Manson back.
They did.
But
they did.
Johnson could get back by the first to second round of the playoffs.
So we'll see what happens. But obviously, we're being super homers with the Avs, but we're also trying to be realistic here. There isn't a team in the West that is that. You go listen to any major sports outlet right now. They're only talking about the East. There isn't a team in the West that is worrying anybody right now.
There's nobody in the West that could go against the Bruins or the Hurricanes right now.
Nope. So as get fully healthy, though, people are going to be scared. So it'll be interesting to see. Like I said, we'll get Cody on here in the next week or two, and he'll really give us some nice breakdowns and some thoughts for people to be aware of as that season starts coming to an end too. So Cody's great at breaking that stuff down.
Cody is the man.
Pinky, speaking of the Avs and what they did last year, which in my opinion, and granted I'm not a huge hockey historian, but they put a team together and won the Stanley Cups at an all-time great level. I believe you wanted to discuss something about all-time greats this evening and have a little bit of a GOAT discussion. And so why don't you talk to people a little bit here about what your thoughts were? Let's get into it.
Well, I know one of our buddies, our good buddy Zach and I were kind of commenting back and forth, and Zach was disagreeing with that. I guess my definition of GOAT is I feel like there's a lot of people that are in the GOAT conversation that are GOATs. Maybe they're not the GOAT, right? Like you have one guy in mind that like that's your greatest player of all time of that sport. To me, I think you have your GOAT, but then you have these guys that are in that conversation to me. That's kind of how I view it. So you've got like your herd of GOATs, and then you might have that one that's at the top, right? That's how I view it. Zach viewed it as you just have the GOAT, period. That one guy. And I just think there's enough arguments to be made for multiple guys, depending on the sport you're talking about.
I think it depends on your criteria, too. What are you using to decide who your GOAT is? I lean a little bit more on your side with your analogy of, there's the herd, but there's only one dude who's allowed to get with the females. You know what I mean? That is the GOAT. I think Zach's kind of on the same idea, but when you start talking and you hear multiple GOATs, then you're like, no, GOAT means there's only one. So I think you guys are kind of on the same page, but I do like your analogy in that sense.
I I also have to learn, and this is me just trying to be a better person, that I'm not always right? And I will have that hill that I will die on. And I have my goat, right? My goat may not be your goat.
Absolutely.
You might have reasons that your goat is your goat, and that's okay. We're allowed to have those difference in opinions, right? So I think that's what I was trying to get to. And I know I actually had my son the other day randomly because he's as he's growing up, he turns 18 next month. He's talking more about sports and, well, what about this, Dad? And what about that? And like he was going off on how LeBron was the greatest. And I was like, he's the greatest to you. Like I was like, bro, if you actually watch Michael Jordan, like he does things on a basketball court that LeBron could never do, ever. And I was like, watch a video. He's like, I've watched YouTube. And I was like, if you watched YouTube and you didn't walk away from those highlights going, I've never seen anybody do that. Like there are things that Michael Jordan did on a basketball court that guys today can't do. And the guys today you could argue, are more athletic than he was. And they still can't do the things he did on the court. So I know what I watched. Jordan's my GOAT, period. And I'd probably put Bird and Kobe above LeBron because I saw them do things that I still like. To me, LeBron is 6'9" and bigger than everybody else. So he's able to shoot over guys. He's got ups and he gets to the free throw line a lot. Like, I just don't see anything that's like, besides his size, it's like Shaq. And I love Shaq. I love Shaq to death. Why was Shaq so dominant? Because he was like 7 foot, 330 pounds. Like you couldn't stop that guy. If he wanted to get to the basket, he got to the basket. Like, I feel like that's LeBron. LeBron's just bigger and stronger than everybody he plays against. That just doesn't make him the greatest of all time. And when people want to throw in the scoring title, that's cool. Jordan played 3 years of college, and he had 2 years playing baseball. You give Jordan back those 5 years, he might have the scoring. So, like, you know,
longevity stats does not a GOAT make.
And half the time LeBron's played, like, you can't touch the guy. You can't hand check him. You couldn't hard foul him. Like, nothing. So I think that's
a great point because people like to talk about how Jordan couldn't get past the Pistons until he got Scottie Pippen. Well, go watch those series. They are literally mugging him the moment he crosses half court. Mugging. Like old school New York City style mugging. Like this isn't like a light tap. These are what you call hard, vicious fouls. Those were allowed back then. Now in the NBA, those are a flagrant 2 and that guy's getting kicked out of the game.
Right.
So let's talk about why Jordan couldn't get past the Pistons. Because they were literally beating the shit out of him. Like, what do you expect somebody to do? If they're not actually playing basketball and they're just beating the crap out of you, then you're going to have a hard time moving forward. Like, let's not use that argument if we're going to talk LeBron James and Michael Jordan.
Now, is LeBron a GOAT and part of the conversation? Absolutely. Like, I won't deny that. Absolutely. And if he's your GOAT, that's cool, man. Like, enjoy that. My buddy Sam and I, we argue about it occasionally. I've stopped arguing because, like, I'm a Jordan guy. He's a LeBron guy. You're not going to get us off that hill. So there's no reason for us to really, like, debate it back and forth because you're not going to change each other's mind.
So remember at the beginning of the show, I had mentioned that there was something about LeBron that I have recently had let's call it an epiphany. Okay? And I'm not going to go into all the reasons why I don't have LeBron at the top right now. I've talked about that plenty in the past. I'm not going to go down that road today. What I am going to go down the road on is something new. We'll see what you think about this, Pinky. LeBron James has a blemish on his career right now for not doing the dunk contest. And people are going to be like, well, that's all-star. That doesn't mean anything. Let's dig a little deeper here. Why did he not do the all-star dunk contest? Well, he's never said. He's never given a real reason. I am 1,000% convinced now that the sole reason he did not ever do the dunk contest is because he never wanted to have to be compared to Jordan in the sense that if he lost it or if he didn't do well, There is a automatic comparison there that is as equal as you can possibly get. And he would have had to listen to that failure of him not doing it. What that speaks to for me is his fragile ego when it comes to how he saw his overall career going.
But that comes to light all the time. His fragile ego sent him to Miami, which I don't really have a problem with. I just had a problem with him doing the decision on ESPN.
I actually love the decision. I'm one of the few who love that because
I didn't like that at all.
What kept going, and it still doesn't get talked about enough. The reason the decision was done because he raised $1 million for the Boys and Girls Club. That was the whole reason he did that. Is because there was so much money going to that charity. It was worth him doing it.
Which is, there's another way to do that, but to tell all the Cleveland fans who have loved you, bought your jerseys, supported you, that you're leaving over a TV show, that's pretty cold, man. That's
F that. I thought that was cool. What wasn't cool is the fact that the organization didn't know until he announced it live. The organization should have been very aware of your decision before you made your decision. That was the issue I had with it. Other than that, I didn't mind any of it because the reason he was doing it was for charity, and nobody wants to talk about that. And you know how I feel about LeBron, so the fact that I'm defending him should say a little bit about that whole situation.
Now, again, I keep it on the court. Off the court, LeBron's great. He does so much in his community.
Oh, yeah.
He's got a school. He does so much for Ohio. Like, he's a great guy off the court. On the court, I've seen so many different things. Him leaving early to the locker room, him throwing that shit fit over a foul like 2 weeks ago or whenever that was. Like, come on, bro. Like, you've been in the league 20 years and you're going to have a meltdown? Like, come on. Was it a bad call? Sure. Like, I get you. But, that was a bad call in the Super Bowl, and you didn't see the Philly guys having a breakdown.
Yeah, yes. And I get why some people would want to put even guys who watch Jordan play and now watch LeBron play. There are some people out there who like LeBron, and I get if you want to go that route because of his overall skill set. The fact that he's going to be the number one scorer, he's going to be top 5 in assists and rebounds probably when it's all said, or top 10, in assists and rebounds when it's all said and done. That's huge, and that's really amazing. But again, when you talk about those records, the other thing you need to talk about is longevity. And to me, and I know you and me, Pinky, have disagreed on this quite a few times, I don't need to see a dude play a certain number of years for him to be a Hall of Famer, an all-time great in my eyes. What I need to see is all-time great when he's on the field, regardless of how long that is. Now, how long you're on the field will decide if you start nitpicking or you need a category to break a tie, that can then break that tie.
Sure.
But I'm not going to say just because somebody played a long time and therefore got a lot of records that they should have had if they played that long, then makes them a GOAT.
Yeah, and
like Tom Brady breaking all these passing records right now, they mean nothing to me. Honest to God.
When you played 23 seasons, you should break all the damn passing records.
Damn right. Now, his titles are a different story, but him breaking like Peyton's records, Breeze records, things of that nature, they don't mean anything to me.
Well, Peyton only played 18 years. You play 23, you should have all the records, right? Like that's just what should happen.
Yes.
Yes. So I'm a Jordan guy. To me, the closest thing to Jordan was Kobe Bryant. In my mind. And again, like LeBron is just that guy that's like, it was like Wilt Chamberlain back in the day. He was just bigger than everybody else. So of course he dominated because he just had that size advantage on everybody.
Well, Wilt and Shaq are, you talked about Shaq earlier. Wilt and Shaq are great examples of two guys who could have been the GOAT, but did not have that work ethic of a GOAT to become such. So their overall max potential was never realized.
I don't think, like, no matter what, Shaq's body was going to give up. He's just too big.
Yeah, but even Kobe has said if Shaq took basketball seriously like Kobe did, Shaq would have been the GOAT. Like, there's people who have said that about Shaq. And Shaq's kind of said the same thing. Like, I didn't have the same work ethic as Kobe, but I had other things that I cared about in my life, and basketball wasn't going to be my end all be all.
So we talked basketball. Who's your baseball? Like, who's the GOAT for you?
I was hoping you're going to ask this. All right, so we both got MJ as our GOAT for basketball. Baseball GOATs. Ooh, man.
So one of the first guys, and again, I never watched him play live. I've only got the stories and the stats. Mickey Mantle's on my list.
God, man. Baseball.
And I've got a picture. I've got a picture. To me, like, he doesn't always get he doesn't get always heralded like he should, but go back and look at all the crazy records this guy has. You know who I'm talking about?
Nolan Ryan?
Nolan Ryan, baby.
You never even won a Cy Young. Figure that out. Never even won a Cy Young.
You saw that stat I sent you the other day, right?
Yeah.
How Nolan Ryan struck out 7 baseball players who then had sons who also played in the major leagues that he also struck out. Like, think about that.
Now, people are going to be like, well, Caleb, you're talking about longevity, and that shouldn't matter. Nolan Ryan, longevity, all his – no. Nolan Ryan's different. Dude has more no-hitters than anybody in baseball. Let's just start there. I don't care how long he played. He did something more often than nobody else could, which is an insane stat.
And that's not just before
I had the most strikeouts because I played the most. He had the most no-hitters.
Well, he did that. He also had the most strikeouts, but also, like, you played. You didn't play 6 innings.
Yeah.
You know, you pitched the whole game. And I bet Nolan Ryan would punch you in the face if you tried to pull him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. God, baseball, Pinky, that's so tough. Babe Ruth was widely acknowledged as such for many years, even after Hank Aaron broke his record. I don't think Hank Aaron gets enough credit for how good of an all-around baseball player he really was, because
he was a model of consistency, though.
He was. Mickey Mantle's a great choice. Lou Gehrig was really good.
Ted Williams.
Yeah, Ted Williams.
Pete Rose.
Golly. I don't know if I can pick a GOAT in baseball, Pinky. I don't know if I can pick one guy. And part of it is because I'm going to keep my baseball stuff to myself tonight. But I think part of it is because you don't play everything. Like, you're either a hitter or a pitcher. You know what I mean? Like, that makes it tough. I think Griffey could be in that category. And I don't think he gets enough recognition for his overall game. His offense and defense were top level of all time. So why he doesn't get mentioned in that conversation is a little weird to me. You could bring up guys like Sandy Koufax, Satchel Paige.
Who was the one for the car? Oh, Bob Gibson.
Bob Gibson was another one I was thinking about. I think there's an argument that Albert Pujols could be in that conversation with his overall career. I can't pick a GOAT in baseball. I honestly could not. You're putting me on the spot, and I'm having a hard time.
It's been a little while since we've had Zach or Dan on the show. We need to get them on the show as baseball starts coming up, and we'll have to ask them that question.
I'm good with that. We should. That's a good one. What about football?
Well, let's do hockey first, because I think that's a shorter conversation.
I mean, it's Wayne Gretzky.
It's Wayne Gretzky.
There are a couple other guys who he passed that were GOAT before him, but it's Wayne Gretzky.
As a kind of like my interest and knowledge in hockey is on the upswing. I'm paying attention. I'm looking at numbers and stats and watching games, and so I'm learning. But back in the day, my dude was Patrick Waugh, 33, baby. Like,
arguably the greatest goalie of all time.
He's on the list. He's on the
list of conversation, but he's not passing Gretzky. Gordie Howe is going to be somebody's GOAT depending on your age range. I think some people may still keep Gordie Howe up there because of him playing in the original 8 and all of that stuff. Mario Lemieux is in the conversation, but I think his career being a little shorter definitely affects him.
Well, I think he had cancer, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah.
Missed a couple years. Yep. But Mario is definitely up there. You've got some of the new guys like Sidney Crosby and Alex Ovechkin. Ovechkin's on pace. It looks like he could beat Gretzky's points record. Goal record, not points record, goal record.
That one's going to be tough, I think. I think he's gonna sniff that record. He's gonna get real close. I don't know if he breaks it. But
I don't know if he'll break it either, but he has put himself closer than I had anticipated him being. So that's gonna get real interesting. But Gretzky, it's Gretzky. It's there. I don't think that's a debate. I don't think anybody in hockey would debate that. In all honesty, this isn't a LeBron Michael conversation. This is Gretzky, and then there are some other guys who almost got there but couldn't.
And there might be a few guys that may get close to or might break his record, but they score a lot more in hockey now than they used to. Like
the game's different.
The game's different. But what Gretzky did, that 90 goal season he had, like Jesus, man. Like
Gretzky was Now, granted, he played with some all-time great talent too. He was blessed in that regard. But I've always said, if you're playing with all-time great talent, what do you do with that talent? And Gretzky went out and said, I'm going to go ahead and be the best at everything that you could possibly think of, and that's what I'm going to do with that talent. So, done.
All right, so as we transition to football, I need you to start first.
Okay, I'm good with that. If we're talking solely championships, it's Brady. I do not think Brady is the GOAT, though, when it comes to just being the best football player. I think he's really smart. I think he is a solid player. I do not think he is a GOAT when it comes to overall talent.
Football, I'm almost like you can almost do it by position.
Yeah. Because
so many players affect the game differently in football. I actually do like Brady a lot more after he left New England. Tampa Tom would be on social media and he would do, a bunch
of wasted and throwing trophies from boat to boat.
You finally got to see his personality. And if we could have seen that the whole time he was in New England, I don't know if I think we'd all love him. My point, and I will die on this hill. He's not my GOAT. He's got the rings. A lot of that to me is he has one of the best coaches of all time in Belichick. Part of that to me is that's like that. I give him a lot of credit for being a winner. Like that's all.
Hell yeah. But he's also played. This is my caveat with football, and I like that you said it's almost by position, because in football, it's literally the only sport where you don't play both ways.
You have to have a team.
You don't play. If you're offense, you don't play defense. If you're defense, you don't play offense. And both of those are very separate and affect the game very differently, like you were saying.
And then occasionally, you need to have a guy that can just catch a football when it's punted to him and doesn't lose the game for you, right?
Right.
Right. My point with Brady is I still feel like if you pick Brady up and you put him on any other team when he's drafted, we do not hear from the guy.
I won't go that far. I think he still gets a couple championships one way or the other, because I think he's that mentally good at football. I think he is that good when it comes to the mental aspect of quarterbacking.
But I don't know if he got drafted anywhere else, if he would have gotten the time to develop into that. Because he's not physically gifted anywhere across the board, except for here. He's gifted here, but also so you saw he had his first 3 championships that was mostly defense. And then you had his second half of the career after the 10-year absence from the Super Bowl, where he knew the offense like the back of his hand.
Yeah.
And he had 5 different running backs that could do different things. And he had
and top 10 defenses doesn't hurt your ability to go out
your whole career, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they never turned the ball over, period. Like, guys didn't fumble. Like their special teams didn't make mistakes most of the time. Like they were a great overall team. So I give him credit for that. If he's your GOAT, he's your GOAT. I will not argue that with you. I'm not going to tell you you're dumb. But he's not my GOAT. And for part of what I look at, especially at the quarterback position, could I pick you up as a player? Can I put you on any other team? And I have no doubt that you would be in the Super Bowl. Right. And I'm thinking about like when you got drafted. If I just pick you up and put you on another team, do I have no doubt that you could have taken that team to a Super Bowl? And there's quarterbacks that I know for a fact that can do that. For me, I know.
I like that. Let's be honest. You put him on any of Peyton's teams. Does Brady get to the Super Bowl?
No. Again, I don't think you hear from him. I don't. Maybe you do. Maybe he grows into that. Maybe he does that like for the first 8 years, like Rich Gannon. You don't really know who he is. And then like he has a great like last 4 or 5 years of his career because he had everything figured out and he had the opportunity. So to me, like Marino, I think you could put Marino on any team. And in fact, I think if you put him on a better team than the shitty ass Dolphins, that dude has a ton of rings.
Him and Elway actually are very similar when it comes to that carrying awful teams to very far distances.
Until we had like Mahomes and Josh Allen, Elway was like if you went to a computer and made a quarterback, that's who you would make.
Absolutely.
And to take the 3 shitty Denver Bronco teams of the 80s to Super Bowls, look at those rosters. Look at the offensive rosters, right? Look at the coach, Dan Reeves. I don't think Dan Reeves is that great of coach. But if you take Marino and stick him with Bill Walsh, you don't think he would have a set of rings? You know, you pick Elway up and put him in New York with Bill Parcells, who actually had a defense. Do you think he wouldn't have a handful of rings? So I think, again, it comes back to opportunity, right? It comes back to coaching. It comes back to team. Football is the ultimate team sport. Again, like I can't completely fault Brady for where he was, right? He got into a great situation. He played in the AFC East. Those teams were shitty for 15 years out of the time he was there, right? That's easy pickings.
Absolutely.
But
absolutely.
So that's where I kind of, like I say, it's part of the equation. Elway's my guy.
Elway's my guy. Your football GOAT.
That guy is like physically, if he had a good coach his entire career, like that dude has tons of rings. Tons of them.
I don't hate that. But I will go back to this. I like what Ray says here because to me with football, it really is more of a Mount Rushmore than it is a GOAT conversation. And for me, the reason for that is because you don't play both ways. Basketball players play offense, defense. Baseball players play offense, defense, unless you're a pitcher, and that's why we won't go into that. But offense, defense. Hockey, offense, defense. Soccer, offense, defense. Name another sport that's like football where you only play one side of the ball. So because of that, I think football is the ultimate way to judge GOAT is actually not a singular. It is a Mount Rushmore. And I think that would make a lot more sense in football than any other sport.
And I think you could kind of
the best.
I almost think you could go position by position and just be like, hey, we know Jerry Rice is a GOAT. I think you could maybe make some arguments, but when you talk about speed, catches, ability to run routes, like that guy was a total package, right?
I agree. And I like your idea position by position, but I think you could do a Mount Rushmore. You could set, you're going to have, if Brady's your quarterback, fine. If Elway's your quarterback, fine. If Rodgers is your quarterback, fine. I don't care how you want to play that. You'd have a quarterback up there on your Mount Rushmore. You're going to have Lawrence Taylor. You're going to have Jerry Rice. You're going to have a Jim Brown.
We got a comment, on Ray's comment of Jim Brown.
I think you do something like that. You could do 4 NFL players that end up being on that Mount Rushmore.
I wish I could take Jim Brown and put him in today's game and see what it looks like. Because in his game, he was as big as the defensive lineman he was playing. So there's multiple times he just runs it right over the guys.
This
It's
is
like
what
Will
I think Jim
Chamberlain-
Brown would be. Jim Brown is just Derrick Henry,
Okay.
right? I mean, size, speed, strength.
Would you say Derrick Henry's one of the greatest of all time?
I think Derrick Henry won't be able to get into that conversation because the Tennessee Titans are dumbasses and didn't play him for the first 3 years of his career. So because of that, and the fact that for whatever reason they don't want to throw him the ball, I think he has been limited. Talent-wise, do I think he is that talented? Yeah, I honestly do. I just don't think he's had an opportunity to showcase it. And that's another problem that I have with the NFL that I've said for a very long time, and I stand on that hill and I'll never come off of it. The NFL is all about square peg, round hole. And it's very rare that you get an NFL team that actually uses an NFL player's abilities the way it should be used. And so because of that, I think there's a lot of guys throughout NFL history that probably had the skill to be in this GOAT conversation, but you'll never hear of. And then there's other guys whose careers were cut short, like a Terrell Davis, like one
Gale
of my
Sayers.
all-time favorite running backs, Gale Sayers, who when you go back, dude, you go back and watch Gale Sayers tape, you're like, oh my God, what would have that guy been if he had a full career?
Did you see the Cowboys fans trying to like show Zeke Elliott's stats next to Terrell Davis's?
Yeah.
And I was
trying to compare
I
them as if they were equal comparisons.
I had some person be like, Zeke should be in the Hall of Fame. And I went back and I was like, hey, bro, it says 7 seasons. Most of these numbers were done in 4. Terrell had a 900-yard season, and his other 2 seasons were like literally nothing. So most of his numbers were done in 4 seasons.
And that's because of the knee injury. And not just that, Terrell's got a 2,000-yard season.
Now,
he has, by the way, a Super Bowl MVP.
I mean, to me, my GOAT is for the running back is Barry Sanders, and that's just because like nobody's ever done what he's done.
Mine was too. Barry Sanders is my guy, and that's simply because you go put him on a good team. Shit, you go put Barry Sanders on a decent team, and the numbers he would. You put Barry Sanders on those Dallas teams, and Emmitt Smith isn't even known.
And Emmitt Smith
is so overrated, it makes me sick.
Well, I don't think he's overrated.
He's overrated.
I don't think he's overrated.
The best offensive line in the history of football.
He's a really good running back. Absolutely.
I'll give him really good. But people are talking about him as an all-time great, and he's not.
No, he's not that. He is good.
Emmitt Smith, we were talking about this on Facebook. Emmitt Smith is on the line of Hall of Really Good and Hall of Fame. And the only reason he's Hall of Fame is because he ran behind the best offensive line in NFL history.
He was a tough runner, man. He always went forward too. Now, he did have 5 yards to get there, but I think that's a little unfair.
You put Emmitt Smith on those Detroit teams, and he's not a Hall of Famer.
I think if you put almost anybody behind those Detroit lines, they're not a Hall of Fame.
Yeah, but that's my point. Barry Sanders is, and not just a Hall of Famer, he's talked about as the greatest running back of all time.
So I did love, before Super Bowl 40.
I love hearing that, so I'm just going to let that sit there for a minute.
The Steelers versus the Seahawks before that Super Bowl is when NFL Network did a top 100 of the entire league. And one guy was talking about Barry Sanders, and it was a jazz musician, and he was comparing Barry Sanders to jazz.
That's
and he's like,
correct.
you don't know where the next note's going to take you. And,
I love jazz, and dude, look, I've said before, I am the definition of a fanatic. I'm not just a fan, I am a fanatic in the sense that, look, Pinky, SP back in the day, Zach, all the guys, they joked that if quarter coin flipping was the only sport in the world, I would know everything there is to know about it. I love sport. I love it. Everything, all things. I am the reason we talk about all sports, because if it wasn't for me, we may have kind of dwindled it down to NFL. But I love that the guys gave me the opportunity to discuss all sports. I didn't have to do that, and I love them for that. And because of that, I can say that, dude, Thanksgiving Day growing up, my brother and I used to build little shrines of all the sports cards we had of the games that were going to be played. And the biggest one that we would make was Barry Sanders. And we rooted for him. That was my brother's favorite player. I fell into that category very quickly right behind my brother. Watching Barry Sanders is a different level. It's kind of like watching Randy Moss. The difference there is Barry Sanders tried, Randy Moss didn't. So had Randy Moss tried his whole career, he might be the GOAT. Had Barry Sanders played with some good teams, he might be the GOAT. So they're not the GOAT for very different reasons, but they both had that talent level to be there.
You know what's so funny is if you'd have taken Terrell Owens' heart and put it into Randy Moss, you would have like the greatest wide receiver that's ever lived.
T.O.'s the second best receiver ever. I don't care what anybody says. That dude is so underrated and so looked over because of his personality or his off-field antics or whatever you want to call him.
He's off-putting.
He is the second best receiver in NFL history. That's my take. I love T.O. I'm a big T.O. When he pulled that touchdown and grabbed a pen out of his sock and signed a ball and people got mad about it, my first thought was, dude just scored a touchdown on you with a Sharpie in his sock. How about you should be mad that you let him score on you, not that he pulled a Sharpie out of his sock.
You know what? For that crazy, stupid cornerback, I'd be happy to get that ball. Like, here, I'd make some money on that.
I love me some T.O. I've always been a huge T.O. fan, always will be. I was on an island by myself for many years.
We've touched a lot on offense, but it's a team game. Who's your Mount Rushmore on defense?
Well, I've talked about this in the past. Obviously, we're new to the MHRT network, so not many people have heard this take. But who are the all-time greats recognized? Don't count any current players, Pinky. Just give me the all-time great defensive players right now. Lawrence Taylor and.
So I'll try to give you the guys that I watched.
Okay.
Lawrence Taylor being one.
Okay.
Like his ability to bend, his speed, his tenacious. Now he might have been doing coke on the sidelines. I don't know, but he put out a good product.
Coke on the sideline. That's not a maybe. That's a well-known
fact. Reggie White is on my list. I've always had a spot for, and I think he gets overlooked a lot, but he changed the game. Mel Blount, that cornerback.
Okay.
Like the whole, like you can't grab a guy at the line is the Mel Blount rule.
All right.
Like before him, you could do that. You could maul a receiver at the line and you were good. And, you know, I'd be hard pressed for me. I think I've got to put my man Dion on the list.
Damn right you do.
I
hate that he went to Colorado. God, I hate that so much. God, it just makes me sick.
Dion's he was just a game changer. And the fact that he was kind of a mercenary, like after he left the Falcons.
Oh God, I love that. San Francisco, Dallas, I don't care.
Right. Unfortunately, turf toe finally got him. Like he actually he had to get a toe cut off, actually. So I'm a huge I like defense. Defense is like my thing. I really love Warren Sapp. He's like one of my dudes, like the interior. Like, you know, today it's Aaron Donald, but back in the day it was Warren Sapp.
I do love Sapp. And that's hard for me to say because he's a Miami dude. But I do love Warren Sapp.
Derek Brooks, Ray Lewis.
I hate Ray Lewis. That dude should have been out of the NFL. I think I'm not. I'm not.
Between the lines.
Keep it on the field. Keep it on the field. I won't go down that road right now.
Between the lines. You know, I still think Champ Bailey. A lot of people will call me a homer. That's fine.
No, Champ's still underrated all time. It's ridiculous.
Highly overrated. Like people say, Darrelle Revis is better than Champ, and I'm like, no, not at all.
This right here,
Deacon Jones, absolutely.
I was waiting.
He's the reason why it's called a sack.
Yes, Deacon Jones. This is where I'm going. I got to do 5. I know Mount Rushmore is usually only 4, but I do have to go 5 now because I think there's a guy in this day and age that has put his name in that conversation of all time. And I've said this before. Pinky doesn't agree with me, but Aaron Donald now is in the same breath as.
I mean, I can't fight it.
Reggie White.
Dude, I have an Aaron Donald jersey. I can't fight it, baby.
I know you do, but you told me you didn't think he was quite there. But I do believe if you want to talk about all-time great defensive, I think there's 3 guys now. Okay? I think there's Mr. Giant himself. And I don't care what anybody says. That is Mr. Giant. If you're talking about the Giants, the first name you should talk about is that man. Period. Lawrence Taylor. All day, every day. Reggie White, the Minister of Defense. Aaron Donald. I do believe
Deacon Jones is not the Minister of Defense.
I said Reggie White is the Minister of Defense.
Oh, sorry. I've been drinking.
Reggie White, the Minister of Defense.
Give me grace. Give me grace. I've been drinking.
Lawrence Taylor, Minister of Defense, Reggie White, Aaron Donald. I believe they're all on the same level now. I think what Aaron Donald is doing in today's modern NFL is absurd. When all the rules go against defense and he still is dominating as he is, he's getting underrated right now.
What makes Aaron Donald so successful?
Getting to the quarterback.
There's one rule that we always coached when I coached D-line and O-line. Low man wins.
Sure.
Aaron Donald's like 6 foot.
He does. He's got the center of gravity lower than everybody else. I'll give him that. But dude's a beast, man. He's a beast. When you are throwing these offensive linemen around the way he is, the strength that he has is absurd.
His strength and speed.
Flawless.
So it's Aaron Donald, and a lot of people don't give him enough credit. I do because I watch him. It's Aaron Donald and it's Chris Jones.
Okay.
And they're like Chris Jones is like right underneath him.
I don't think Chris Jones is quite on that all-time great level like Aaron Donald is.
He's not quite there, but like
I think he's one of the greats of his generation. I don't think he's all-time great.
He's not all-time great right now, but he's in today's conversation.
So I've got those 3, right? Then Dion, and then Deacon Jones. And that's I can't leave one of those 5 off of my round. Mount Rushmore.
I mean, we could throw the Purple People Eaters in here. We could throw Mean Joe Green into the conversation from the Steelers. There's a lot of guys. I love defense. Like we could do a whole thing on defensive players of all time.
I don't know if I'll give Junior Seau all-time great. I think he's on the edge. He's on the line of I won't be mad if you say he's all-time great. I just don't know if me personally is going to put him all-time great.
He was a tackling machine, but like I mean, I'd probably put Jack Ham, Jack Lambert, Carl Mecklenburg, Ray Lewis.
Stop mentioning Ray Lewis.
Hey, what he did between the lines was
he
pretty
shouldn't have been allowed to do any of it. All those numbers. You, my friend, always talking about what's your favorite thing to say when somebody has a lot of numbers that don't mean anything, Pinky?
Empty stats.
That's Ray Lewis's career. Because they never should have happened.
He got Joe Flacco a Super Bowl, so I think he did.
Joe Flacco got him a Super Bowl. Joe Flacco
Mike
got
Singletary.
him a Super Bowl.
Mike Singletary is up there.
Absolutely.
I'd say Mike Singletary is better than Junior Seau in my book.
I think, and I love Junior Seau. I love watching him growing up. But I think sometimes I wonder if he's as big a name as he is because he paid for such a terrible organization and he was as good as he is. If sometimes he gets inflated a little bit because of that notoriety.
Him and Ronnie Harrison, like they poured out blood, sweat, and tears for the Chargers. So,
Hefe KC, they were key when they had a quarterback by the name of Trent Dilfer. They were not key when Flacco took them to the Super Bowl.
So they helped. What people don't remember, or maybe don't want to remember, is Joe Flacco had like one of the most efficient quarterback playoffs of all time.
All-time great run. All-time great run.
Like he had like 12 touchdowns, no interceptions. Like it was nasty. So
here's the other thing. Ray Lewis isn't as good as he is without Ed Reed. He's not as good as he is without damn it, who's that other linebacker that played with him?
this blasphemy has to stop. It has to
He's
stop.
not. He's not, Pinky. He's
He
not.
absolutely is.
He is so inflated. His career is not as good as people want to make it out to be. I am tired of hearing this Ray Lewis rah-rah shit. Tired of it. I am so tired of it. He played with so many great players. The only reason he gets all the recognition he did is because he was the Mike linebacker.
I'm just going to remember that I love you.
Cheers, my guy. Cheers.
Oh.
Look, I won't lie. I'm not partial. I am not objective when it comes to Ray Lewis. I think if it was modern NFL, the dude would have been kicked out of the league so fast we wouldn't have heard about him again. So it's hard for me to separate the off field with the on field when it comes to Ray Lewis, and I'll be the first one to admit that, and I have no problem saying that. But I am not a Ray Lewis fan at all, and I refuse to give him any credit for his career. I just do. Ray Lewis to me is like Aaron Hernandez had been allowed to stay in the NFL. That's how I feel about Ray Lewis. Hey, sorry, man. I don't want to hear this nonsense about he didn't have anything to do with it. He sat there and told his boys to go do it. I don't care what he says. On
the field, the dude was awesome. I think you're using a little bit more bias of what happened off the field.
Oh, hell yeah, I am. But I also, I was never that impressed by Ray Lewis. I just wasn't. I thought his energy and his hype was more than his game, and that helped elevate him to being all-time great status. Is he really good? Yeah. All-time great? I don't have him there.
Peyton Manning says he's a great guy. I'll take that.
And good for him. Turned his life around. If that's really true, and he's really turned his life around and he's become a better man, awesome.
No, Peyton Manning has said there was two guys, there's a couple guys that he worried about when he played, and Ray Lewis was one of them. So, no, Aaron Hernandez wasn't better than Gronk. He was faster than Gronk. He could do some different things than Gronk, but he wasn't better than Gronk.
I don't know, man. Aaron Hernandez was really good, and I hate saying that, but he was really good. It would have been interesting to see.
He was. But again, I think Aaron Hernandez is more like, for me, he's like Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce is more of a wide receiver than he was a tight end.
Look, and you and I disagree with Travis Kelce because I think Travis Kelce is all-time great. He's just not asked to block, so he doesn't have to. That doesn't mean he can't.
All I know is what I see. They never have him block. He doesn't block at all. To me, that's part of a tight end. To me, he's a wide receiver. And I'll say, if you want to put Travis Kelce in the top 15 wide receivers of all time, I don't hate it. I don't. But he's not you're going to put him on the list of top tight ends, but he doesn't. They flex him out. He's playing wide receiver positions most of the time. He's not.
Boy, we're starting to piss a lot of people off here in these last 15 minutes, I think.
They've been watching a 2-hour podcast, so that's on them.
Hey, man, we're entertaining. It's not our fault. Hey, we're going to say some things that you don't agree with, and you're going to sit there and be mad at it. You're going to keep listening. Sorry.
Like I said earlier, I've learned I'm not always right. But I have my hill. I'm going to die on that hill.
Look, I will give you credit, Pinky. You do have your hills. And you and I have definitely butted heads many a times. That's why we love talking sports together. But I would say over the last couple of years, you really started to change the ability to take in new information, reprocess what's going on, and change some of your hills. I don't necessarily change. I just have to come on air and then admit that I was wrong, which I do plenty, and I have no problems doing it. But
being a married man, we say we're wrong a lot. So it's not it doesn't really feel as bad anymore.
I also like to think, and maybe if somebody over the years wants to start calculating this out, I feel like I'm on a 75, 80% clip of accuracy being right than wrong. So when I am wrong, I don't mind mentioning it.
I agree with Ray to a point. I don't give a damn about anything KC. I do agree with, let's just give them credit for what's happening right now. My problem with KC at the moment is most of their fans forget that they didn't do shit for 50 years.
That's the same as the Patriots fans.
Right. And that's what I told a Chiefs fan this. I was like, you guys are becoming the Patriots. And they're like, what are you talking about? I was like, well, you hate Patriots fans, right? Yeah. I was like, well, that's what you guys are becoming. You're becoming douches. Again, you've got an all-time great quarterback. You have the face of the NFL. Most of us enjoy watching him.
Facts.
Most of us enjoy like drafting him in fantasy. Like, that's great. But just enjoy it. You don't have to be a dick. But I have so many Chiefs fans that have now become dicks and are treating everybody else like garbage that's where it's like, okay, now we're getting the hate.
So
Okay.
I'm glad we're here, and I think we can kind of end on this clip. Earlier I said I don't need to see a lot of your career. I don't need to see you play a long term of your career to be an all-time great. I need to see greatness when you play. And I was a little hesitant on this over the last couple of years, but after this year, I fully believe Patrick Mahomes is a top 5 QB all time now. I'm not going to throw out my list there because I don't know if I'd actually put him in my top 5, but I would never, ever, ever argue with somebody that has him in their top 5 based on what he's done already in his career. It's amazing. It is amazing. And he's setting the bar at a whole new level already.
I'm giving him a lot of appreciation, but I still wonder, without Andy Reid, if he's at that level.
Yeah, but that's the NFL, baby. This is what I keep talking about, the NFL, and you say it too. It is a team. It is the ultimate team sport. You have to have everything around you be great to be great. There are only a few exceptions. Elway and Marino come to mind.
I just feel like Andy Reid's like one of the few offensive guys that literally has created the offense around his quarterback.
Yeah, go figure. Wow, you don't do square peg round hole and you're really good and you win? What a concept. Oh my God, NFL, that's crazy. Stupid ass NFL.
So I think we could have a conversation on that. Like, if you were to separate, and this is where I did have I had some good conversations with some Chiefs fans. I said, if you take Peyton Manning and you put him with Andy Reid, how many Super Bowls does this guy have?
Sure.
Right? Who's the best coach that Peyton Manning had? That was an offensive guy.
Did he ever have an offensive guy?
It's Peyton Manning.
Right. That's what I'm saying, though. He never had an offensive coach. Well, Caldwell was an offensive guy.
Caldwell,
I wouldn't say Caldwell's all-time great.
Caldwell's
gotten the shaft overall in NFL circles, but Caldwell was an offensive guy.
Caldwell and Kubiak are technically offensive guys. But
let's not talk about Kubiak. Incredibly underrated. Ugh.
Hold on.
Overrated. I'm sorry. Kubiak.
Yeah. Yeah. But you wouldn't consider them like great coaches.
All-time great. No,
right?
Absolutely not.
So that's what I'm getting at. Like,
but I'll agree with you. There's only a handful of guys. Elway ended up having an all-time great coach, I believe, in Shanahan when he finally won a Super Bowl. Marino had Shula, but never great teams, and he didn't have Shula his whole career. So really, now that I'm thinking about it, even Marino had a great coach at one time. Peyton Manning's the only one who never had. Name me another all-time great, arguably a GOAT, that like Peyton never had an all-time great coach. Is there one?
I'm trying to think of one. I can't think of one. I really don't. I think it really helps to have it. And that's where, again, like, if you have Elway with Shanahan his entire career, how many rings do those guys have?
Sure.
If you have Peyton Manning with an actual offensive coach like Andy Reid or Bill Belichick, or like anybody that can actually do something coaching wise, how many rings does he have?
I think Andy Reid with this last Super Bowl and what he's done with Mahomes put himself in the conversation of GOAT.
I still think Patrick Mahomes is awesome and great. And if you want to put him as a GOAT, I have no problem with that. I don't.
Hefe, Roethlisberger's trash, both as a human being and a teammate. Roethlisberger's trash. Roethlisberger was carried by a great team. His 2 Super Bowls were not him. They weren't. He made a good throw that was a great catch that ended up winning a Super Bowl, but that Super Bowl was won because James Harrison returned a 99-yard touchdown.
If James Harrison doesn't do that, the Cardinals win that game.
His first Super Bowl was all defense. Roethlisberger is incredibly overrated. I can't stand the dude, and there's another one that I'm not objective about. He should have been out of the NFL for being a rapist. There's 2 guys that I have some pretty strong opinions about that maybe I shouldn't, but I do. Sorry.
So Patrick Mahomes, awesome. I'm trying my best as a Broncos fanatic. I'm also a football fanatic. To just enjoy watching what I see. And allegedly. Wait, what is that allegedly to? What are we talking about?
The laughing face and the LOL with it says all you need to know about the Roethlisberger situation.
Oh, okay. He raped that girl. Because even Stormy Daniels talked about how rapey he was, right? Stormy Daniels, she's an upstanding citizen. She did a lot for us in our youth. She's not going to lie about that.
I mean, based on her, what I've heard from her, she's made Ben Roethlisberger sound like more of a creep than Trump. And that's pretty hard to do.
Well, hold on.
I'm just saying.
So, you and I know I am not a Trump fan as a person. I do think he's an evil human being.
Right.
But I do think he's honest. And he would tell Stormy exactly what he wants. I will give him credit for that. Roethlisberger's like, hey, I'm standing here. I play quarterback. Do you want to let me into your room? You want to let me into a room? Come on. It's the end of the night. Let me into your room. Like, he's a creeper.
I think Roethlisberger's incredibly overrated. I think he was surrounded by an amazing talent his entire career.
I don't think he's. I think he was good in between the lines. I do. But he had a great coach with Bill Cowher. He had a great coach in Mike Tomlin.
Yeah,
and he's always had, primarily until the end of his career, he had really good defenses. So.
You're gonna laugh at this, and you may. I would guess right now before I even say it, you're not gonna agree with me. I think Eli's better than Roethlisberger.
Absolutely not. I would literally tell you, Caleb, I have not told you you are an idiot in a long time. That's an idiot take, because I guarantee you, Eli Manning was literally a below average quarterback most of his career.
You put Eli on those Pittsburgh teams and you don't think they win just as many championships?
I think you put Phillip Rivers on those teams, they win 2 championships.
But that's my point. Put Roethlisberger on Eli's teams, they don't win those 2 Super Bowls.
Look, I hate Phillip Rivers. I hate him. Out of that 2004 draft, it's Rivers, Roethlisberger, Manning.
No.
Absolutely.
No.
Absolutely.
It's Manning, Rivers, Roethlisberger. One of them got 2 championships and was a beast in the playoffs when it counted, Pinky. The other 2 weren't.
Roethlisberger has 2 championships.
Yeah, but he wasn't a beast in the playoffs.
And he went to the playoffs more often than Eli did.
Because he had better teams and better coaches.
Eli is horrible, bro. I'm sorry. Horrible. I've been playing fantasy football so long. I watched and did Eli games. Eli was horrible, bro.
Eli never had great teams around him. Never. He had some great defenses. He never had great offenses around him. Roethlisberger had all of it.
Eli was horrible, bro. I'm sorry. Eli was horrible. So he may have had it physically. He didn't have it up here. Sorry.
He also, when the playoffs came around, played really good. So scratch whatever he did in the regular season. Who gives a shit? What did he do when the line was the most?
Both times he went to the Super Bowl and won. He had great defenses. Yep. They only scored you make it sound like he did something great. He scored 17 points both times
in the championship games, but up those playoff runs he had
in the Super Bowl.
Right
in the Super Bowl, he scored 17 points
twice.
What's
your point? He was the reason they made the Super Bowl. The defenses are the reason he won. He's the reason they got there.
That dude is awful, bro.
God, you are such an Eli hater. It's cray-cray.
I love the Mannings. And I do like Eli outside of football.
No, you love the Mannings. You hate Eli.
I don't hate Eli. I just know he's
you
overrated.
now like him outside of football doing the Manning cast, but you would stomp on you would give Eli a curb smiley if you got the chance.
Eli is the most overrated quarterback of all time, without a doubt.
Oh my goodness.
And again, I rooted for him both times because I hate the Patriots.
Of course.
He did me a solid by beating them. So he has a spot in my heart. He does. But he was overrated. Period. Period.
Oh God. He's gonna be a Hall of Famer, Pinky. He's gonna be a Hall of Famer, and you're gonna have to live with that the rest of your life.
Caleb, I already know he's gonna be a Hall of Famer. Because people are dumb. Okay?
Oh, goodness.
Look, I hate Phillip Rivers. I don't think Phillip Rivers is a Hall of Famer. I think he's the Hall of Very Good, in my opinion.
Rivers is probably the Hall of Very Good.
And he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. I've made my peace with it. That's what's going to happen.
Look, this is how I feel about Eli. Do you play your best when the lights are the brightest? He did. Julian Edelman will be a Hall of Famer because he played his best when the lights are the brightest. That's all I care about.
Again, you talk about he played his best when the lights are the brightest. He made 2 throws and he scored 17 points in 2 Super Bowls.
I'm not talking about just the championship, Pinky. The playoffs. The real season, the one that everybody wants to be in, is the playoffs. Did Eli play out really well and really good in the playoffs? Damn right he did on both of those runs. Did he play insanely well in the Super Bowl? No, but guess who else didn't? His brother Peyton didn't play really well in either of his Super Bowl wins.
If Green Bay's kicker doesn't miss those kicks in the Freeze Bowl, he doesn't even get that first Super Bowl.
I don't.
He didn't play that great in that fucking NFC.
He made a play in that game, though. He made a throw in that game, though, that allowed them to go on and win.
Not in the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, he did.
What throw?
Man, he had that sideline throw. I can't remember exactly what it was.
That's Mario Manningham in the Super Bowl.
No. I'm not talking about I remember it vividly. It was snow on the ground. I remember it vividly.
You don't remember it that vividly that you don't know when it was and who it was to.
No, I don't. I don't remember those things. I don't remember those things. I won't lie.
Hold on. Hefe. We got to respond to this.
Oh, he should have.
Look, bro.
Carolina was crazy overrated.
Look.
Cam Newton's trash.
Again, any quarterback that day is going to beat the Panthers when they have a defense that beats the shit out of the other team.
It's not just that. I'm tired of hearing this nonsensical talk because Peyton is part of the reason they won that Super Bowl. You know why? Because Peyton was so smart as a quarterback that he was able to limit poor decisions and bad plays on the offense, which allowed that defense to win the game. If that's Brock Osweiler, I don't know if the Broncos win that.
That Panthers defense eats him alive.
So to sit here and say he doesn't deserve it or he shouldn't have had it, Peyton did exactly what he needed to make sure that defense won the Super Bowl for him.
In 2015, it was the Broncos defense and the Panthers defense. They were 1-2. And who had the best offense in the league? The Panthers.
Which I still don't understand how that happened because Cam Newton there's a reason he's out of the league. That dude never developed any part of his game.
I don't even know if Peyton was throwing 20 yards, bro. I think he was throwing like 15 max.
Dude, you're Hefe, my guy. Are you really trying to give credit to Cam Newton? Like, is that where you're going with this? Because let's not go down that road. Like, any good defense that year, would have put Cam Newton in his place. The dude couldn't read defenses. He could barely throw the ball. And that never changed his whole career. Never. Not once. He never developed into anything other than what he came to the league as. So let's not get crazy. Let's not get crazy. Peyton's cerebral part of the game is 50% of why that Super Bowl was won. Because he was smart enough to know what he couldn't do anymore. So he played a very limited game to allow his defense to go out and win it.
I mean, Cam Newton
You
gave
mean
that
Von
to
Miller
Denver.
smoked his ass?
I think they earned the fumble, to be honest. And then it's not their fault that Cam didn't go for it. Like, and if Cam goes for it, it's not a guarantee that he gets it.
Oh, he wouldn't have got it. He would have gotten lit up. Now, should have he gone for it? Yeah, but that also shows why Cam Newton is out of the league. Dude only cared about himself. He made business decisions about himself on a regular.
Yeah, I'm not a huge Cam Newton fan. Like, there were certain games when he's a pretty good running back. I ain't gonna lie. He's a pretty good running back. But throwing the football, he was not it at all. Now, again,
Cam Newton is a poor man's Justin Fields.
if Cam Newton had Greg Roman as his coordinator, legit. But he didn't. So,
Pinky, wrap it up for me, my guy. This was a fun night, but we definitely went a little longer than anticipated. So wrap me up, my guy.
We went way too long. All right. Let's see. Mahomes is awesome. Enjoy it while you got it, Hefe. Actually, Hefe, let me give you some word of advice. I give this to all KC's fans. You need to go to Andy Reid. You need to take that cheeseburger out of his hand. You need to give him a salad with some chicken in it and keep that guy alive. As soon as he leaves, you've got some big issues, man. Because he is a big, big part of why that team is so successful. Keep Andy Reid alive.
I like that. I'll cheers to that. I'm a big Andy Reid guy.
I mean, I can't hate Big Red. I like Big Red. He's a good guy.
I will say I love the GOAT conversation. I'll always love the GOAT conversation. And I love the fact that there's so many different ways people come to the conclusions of who the GOAT is. I will say I'm not going to jinx it, but I'm very excited about the Nuggets in the postseason.
Oh, dude. I'm super excited for the Nuggets. I don't want to jinx it.
And as always, I will say, when you have the time, when you have the opportunity, what's your final thought?
I got one more for Hefe out here. Hefe, are you going to the draft? Are you going to KC, baby? Gonna give him a second. We gotta give him a second.
Let's give him a second. Let's see. Is he even still here?
I mean, he may have dropped off.
Yep, he's gonna be there. Meet up with Pinky.
KC,
he'll be there. You guys got to hook up.
Let's get hit me up on Twitter. We're my buddy, my best friend is a KC fan. My dad's going. My son's going. Hit me up. Let's meet up in KC. Let's have a good time.
Definitely. You will, Hefe, I promise you will not regret that. Pinky's good people. So that would be cool. And we love interacting with anybody that's willing to support us. So by all means, hit him up and link up with that. As always, if you have time, if you have the opportunity, take advantage of spending that time with your loved ones, friends, family, whoever you consider to be in your inner circle. We love everybody. We love you guys. We appreciate the support. Pinky is my dude. We're out.
Hold on.
Oh,
Before
what?
you set the outro. Before you set the outro. Hey, like, subscribe, put those notifications on. And then my last one with the friends and family. If there's some friends you haven't texted in a while, send them a message. Let them know. Hey, what's going on? How you doing? Just check in. I think a lot of us, especially older males, will forget to check in on their friends. We get involved with wife and kids. Check in on your buddies. See how they're doing.
Absolutely. And I will also second Pinky. I'm glad you interrupted me. We love the support. Any support you can give, share us with your friends and family. We love doing this. We love being able to interact, and we are trying to grow something here. So, if you can support us anyway, we really appreciate it. But we do seriously mean that. We've ended every show since we started 3 years ago with take the time to, cherish those moments you have with your loved ones. Appreciate everybody. We're out.